Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I'm your host, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of weird and fascinating things with microphones because I'm a ring announcer and cage announcer, and I'm joined this week, as I always am, by my two friends who, dare I say, bring MMA punditry up to new heights. Introducing to you first, from the Northeast, New York, Mark Priaulx. What's up, buddy?
What's up, boys? Back from vacation, back at the desk. Have my buddies Connor and Bisping and my face that looks like Paul Craig back with me again. So we're ready to go, but we got a late start tonight, so I'm not going to hold us up. Let's do the damn thing.
And from Florida, the Sunshine State, Omar Artola. What's up, my friend?
Well, there's nothing sunshine about it today. There is some serious rain shit going on out here today. Almost thought we might have to figure something else out. Power kept going in and out, but I think we're good. The clouds have passed. Let's get into it.
Well, boys, if I seem a little under the weather, it's because I am. I woke up Monday morning like, oh, I have the flu. It's over. And my son was also home from daycare because the daycare was closed for Labor Day. My wife still had to go to work because she did not have off. So I was home with the 1.5-year-old, who is a psycho now, by the way. Love him. I'm fucking sick as a dog taking care of this kid. But I'm, for the most part, on the mend. I'm still feeling it a little bit. So apologies to our listeners and viewers if I'm a little bit behind the eight ball. But let's get right into this rundown, gentlemen. We're going to discuss fights from this past weekend. Gane versus Tuivasa, UFC Fight Night, that went down Saturday night. We're going to touch on at least all these fights. We're going to dive into our Priaulx Rankings update, find out what's going on in the world of MMA by getting the update inside the MMA sphere. And then we're going to look ahead to this coming weekend's pay-per-view, UFC 279, Chimaev versus Diaz. And then we're going to end with a little bit of trivia. Before we get into anything, guys, let us first thank our audience. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video. I think if you hit that bell icon, apparently that'll help you never miss a video because you'll get extra notifications whenever we publish something. If you want audio only, hey, we got you there. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, find us on social media at @andnew_MMA show in all the places. That's it. Let's go. We're going quick tonight. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Ciryl Gane, who this past weekend at UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Tuivasa, styled on the very good, very tough Tai Tuivasa, defeating him by TKO at 4 minutes, 23 seconds of round number 3. Mark, let me send it over to you first, my friend. What were your thoughts? What were your impressions of this impressive performance by Ciryl Gane?
What a damn fight. Holy shit. How fucking frightening was that version of Ciryl Gane? Like, the guy already has every weapon under the sun. He already has the strike placement like you rarely see in MMA. And now he pairs it with the aggression that he showed in that fight. I mean, the beating that he put on Tai Tuivasa literally had me uncomfortable. And Tai dropped Gane in this fight. Like, he dropped him. And all I can think about is how badly Gane whipped him, which shows you just how destructive that performance was from Gane, that in a fight where he got dropped, all I'm thinking about is how bad he whooped the other guy. And I love Tai, man. He went for it all fight. I said it last week. I said he'd never get frustrated. He'd never mentally break. He'd always be calculating, trying to find the way to land that big shot. And that's exactly what he was doing. Like, his short hooks and his uppercuts are so damn fast. It's what keeps him dangerous. He kept trying to find a way to close that distance. He would not quit. He almost pulled off an all-time moment in round 3 when he pulled a Ian Cutelaba and faked that he was wobbled from a head kick and then tried to take off Ciryl Gane's head. If he had ever KO'd him there, that would have been fucking legendary and so perfect for the personality that Tai Tuivasa is. But, overall, he is just not equipped with the same weapons that Ciryl Gane brought into that cage. They were not fighting, they were not fighting with the same weapons. And, as I alluded to earlier, he absorbed an ungodly amount of damage to the body, to the head, everywhere. Like, the guy is just an animal, but it was to the point that I almost wanted to see it be over. And finally it was. All the damage accumulated. It was starting to feel like any big shot might finally break him, and it did. The big right comes. Gane doesn't let him off the hook. I got to say, I did not love that hammer fist to the back of Ty's head. I haven't really heard anyone talk about it. I noticed it live, like, right away. There's just not a legal strike that he could have been attempting there, so I don't really even get what that was, other than I'm hammer fisting this guy to the back of the head. So I didn't love that, but I also don't want to take anything away from Gane because he would have won without it, and this was a huge night for Ciryl Gane. I don't know if it was him that made an active decision to up his aggression, or if Ty was just the perfect opponent to bring it out of him, because a lot of other people get hit by Gane and they're like, fuck, he keeps hitting me. He's so good I can't stop it. I'm going to stay back here. Whereas Ty was just like, well, I'm marching forward because I'm Tai Tuivasa. So it could have been a blend of those two things, but it was exactly the type of fight that Ciryl Gane needed. The crowd behind him, the aggression that he showed, the show he put on to get dropped and tough it out, and then the finish. It was all just a star-making performance for Ciryl Gane, and one that he needed to really keep himself right on the edge of this title picture, despite the fact that he just fought for one fight ago. Because now you got people, he originally, before this fight, he was like, yeah, Ciryl Gane, he's kind of this technique guy, wins decisions. Now people are really high on Ciryl Gane and talking about Ciryl Gane. Absolutely. So that was huge for him. And it was just a great fight. The whole vibe in there, the French crowd behind him, that sequence in the second round where Ty drops him, he survives, he gets up, he obliterates Ty to the body with multiple shots. Ty survives. They're swinging like crazy for the final minute. The French crowd is like falling out of their seats. It was just, it was a moment. That was a perfect main event for the debut in Paris, and obviously the perfect winner for them to have.
Omar, you're a Muay Thai guy. What was your take on the tremendous Muay Thai on display by the former Muay Thai champ, Ciryl Gane?
While everybody was probably at home screaming their heads off every time Gane was whipping kicks to Ty's body, I was definitely at home going, God damn it, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, I felt every single one of them. I felt everyone go deep into my stomach. They were bad, bro. They were absolutely bad.
Oh, so bad.
I was wondering how many ribs Tuivasa must have broken by the end of that fight, or at least cracked or something. And there's not really much you can do with broken ribs. I don't know if anybody really knows that. There's not really much you do to them. Short of them trying to penetrate your organs to some degree, doctors literally go, well, it's going to suck to breathe for the next few weeks. We're going to wrap you up and have a good one. Here's some Oxy or whatever. There's not really much to do there other than just let them heal and deal with the pain. So don't envy Tai Tuivasa, though. He looked relatively good. I don't know if you guys saw his video from, I think he was in Disneyland Paris.
Yeah,
which,
man, it's insane.
Smoking a joint, chilling out. I mean, I don't know what the hell that kid is made out of. But the head kick that he took would have killed lesser men. Let's be serious. Not even knocked out. He probably would have killed somebody with that head kick. Every single one of those shots was devastating. I didn't understand how Ty was taking most of them. Maybe the first couple I give you, it's the way it goes. But, dude, by like the 12th or 13th kick, it's like, what the fuck is going on here? And just like Mark, once we got to the third round, I realized, bro, there's 2 more rounds of this shit. And I don't really know if Tuivasa is going away. And I really want him to right now because the damage that kid was taking was just not great. Yeah. And I am glad, for for the sake of Tuivasa's future and his body, I was glad that the fight was over. Not so much wanting Tuivasa to lose, but that was the Gane I think we all want to see going forward. That's the Gane that I would pay $70 for, $80 for, whatever the nonsense is. That's the guy. That's the heavyweight we're all worried about. That's the heavyweight that had all that hype behind him. But now Gane has put himself in a position where we know he can do that. We've seen it. Now he needs to make sure it happens again. Otherwise, he potentially could fall into the issues that Izzy's having right now, where people are criticizing him for not stepping on the gas pedal and playing the counter striking and not really pushing the game forward. If it means bringing Ciryl Gane back to Paris with that savage ass crowd every time, then bring him back to Paris every time. Because first of all, we were talking about crowds the other week. How nasty is that Paris crowd?
Dude,
makes me want to learn French so I could chant whatever it is that they were chanting, because that crowd is amazing. I loved every bit of it. It's hard to say that it wasn't very much like London, short of there not being a Paddy and a Molly personality to make that just completely go off the rails. One would say it was very similar crowd to London. It was fantastic. And for Ciryl to really, you could see he was reveling in it. He was soaking it up. Some people get almost taken over by the moment, but he was he was in it, man. He was swimming in it in the best way possible, and it really worked for him. So he needs more of that. We all need more of that Ciryl Gane. And John Jones, for that, he's been on everybody's name now that, Ciryl Gane came out with that performance. Everybody knows John Jones's game is going to be to take this man down and ground and pound him. And if Ngannou can do that to him, God help him. However, I don't think Gane is dumb, and I think Gane knows that's what the thing is, the game plan is going to be. Mm-hmm. And if Gane can style like that against somebody like John Jones with the takedown acumen that he's going to need, God help John Jones. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, the going back to the blow to the back of the head in the closing moments of the fight, if you're the referee, this is a tough one. If you're the referee, do you stop it? Do you guys, if you were the ref, would you have stepped in?
If I felt that he hit him in the area below the skull and on the neck, then yes. But to me, I thought he hit him sort of at the top here, at the cranium, where it's still skull.
Well, that's illegal either way, but I thought it was lower. They're both illegal.
They're both not great. Yes, I will give
it has to be here.
It's supposed to be right, just behind the ear, essentially.
Yeah, on the sides.
Yeah, it was a weird choice of strike. I don't really know why he was throwing that in the first place.
What I'm saying.
It was just
you can't tell me something he thought he was throwing that was legal. Ty is bent over, he raises his fist like this and slams into the back of his head. There's no. Yeah.
It seemed very much like a moment where Gane was like, I'm gonna hit him. And it was just fucking going off, throwing whatever he could.
Finish.
Yeah. Not the best control. I think he's gonna need better control going forward, because he might get screwed if he keeps doing that in later fights, especially if something's on the line. But he got lucky at this point, as far as I'm concerned. Junior Dos Santos. I mean, the leeway is really
that it's in motion. He's basically swarming Tuivasa. Tuivasa is flailing around, getting fucked up.
That's what makes it.
That's why the ref might defend himself of why he didn't stop it.
I agree.
You can stop it. I think it's so close to being over that it's almost like this was over whether he threw that strike or not.
Right.
Yeah. There is a lot of movement. There is a lot of movement going on there, and so one would argue that it wasn't clear. It wasn't that Tuivasa moved his head into that kind of strike. But Junior Dos Santos, for Mark was talking about, no one was talking about it. That's all Junior Dos Santos is talking about. Junior Dos Santos is not happy with Ciryl Gane. He has called him a cheater and a dirty fighter. He says he did the same thing to him with that elbow way back when. Junior Santos cannot let that go. Junior Santos is not happy.
Hey man, everything I've seen of Ciryl Gane, behind the scenes backstage, he seems like the nicest guy.
Oh yeah, he does.
And a pretty humble guy. But also, I think just to stick with this one more point, there is an argument there. I feel just to play devil's advocate.
Sure.
To say if you're the ref, you do stop it. even if it is in a finishing, potential finishing sequence, because you say, okay, you could have finished him, but this is your fault, Ciryl Gane, and now he gets 5 minutes to recover. He's going to recover from this blow to the back of the head, and he's also recovering from all the other blows you've landed because this is your fault, Ciryl Gane. So, like, I think there is an argument for there to be responsibility on the part of the striker.
Yeah.
I mean, I do get that. I'm glad it didn't happen because I didn't want to see Ty get hit anymore.
Right.
But true. I do get that.
Well, what do we think is next for these two heavyweights, guys? Let's start with the winner.
By the way, Mike, I saw your face. Did you not, when I was talking, did you not realize when Ty faked being wobbled? Did you not catch that?
I've heard some people point that out, the comparison to Cutelaba. In the moment, do we know that it was faked? I felt like it was. I thought he definitely was a little wobbled.
I also not completely convinced that it was a complete fake.
Oh, really? I felt like it was obvious.
I don't think it was a complete fake. I think he got rocked. I just think he's able to get his shit together. I mean, look at how rocked he was throughout the second and third round.
As soon as Gane stepped forward, he went from doing this to lunging forward with a right. And then when he missed the right, he was jumping up and down fighting. Like, that was a damn quick recovery. Because
he's a fucking tank, that's why.
Yeah, he is a tank. He is a tank.
And maybe it's because in my head he should have been rocked from that. Like, that should be the reaction to what happened.
Like, I forget, shoulder or I forget what he had up, but it wasn't like clean head.
Oh, it wasn't?
I'll tell you this: if you are blocking a head kick, right, in a proper way, you're still gonna feel that shit, dog. It's still gonna hit you in the head.
Okay, so I thought
not as cleanly.
If I gotta watch it again, he definitely could have been totally faking it and sort of trying to goad him in. I also feel like he could have been using it, like using his wobbledness to his advantage, because he's a crazy person, Tai Tuivasa, and I love him for that.
Yeah.
Either way, let's talk about the future of these two guys. Let's start with, you know what I said, let's start with Gane. Let's start with Tuivasa, because now we're talking about him for the moment. I feel like Tai Tuivasa, if he has lost a little bit of stock from this loss, because Ciryl Gane, he did overall kind of style on him, I don't think Tuivasa has lost much stock. So, Mark, tell us where you would put Tuivasa next in terms of a heavyweight matchup if you were the matchmaker for the UFC.
I agree. He didn't lose much stock. And we've said this before. He did get to this level kind of quick and skipped guys to get here. Like, if you look back at this 5-fight win streak, it was Stefan Struve, Harry Hunsucker, Greg Hardy, Augusto Sakai, who now looks worse, and then Derek Lewis. Obviously, that one counts. That one's huge. But he hasn't fought most of this top 10. Or if he did, it's a guy like Spivak, who he actually lost to, years back. So there's a lot of guys he can fight here. I do think he needs... Well, and also, I wanted to say, although he got kind of jumped to this level, I thought he hung really well with Ciryl Gane. As you said, I don't think he lost much in that performance
100%.
Like, he forced Ciryl Gane to fight in a way that a lot of people have not been able to do.
He's the first person to knock down Ciryl Gane in the UFC.
Or even remotely hurt Ciryl Gane. So I don't think he lost much. I would like him to get so like you could say right now, like, okay, maybe he should fight like a Pavlovich, considering they both knocked out Derek Lewis. They're at similar places, someone like that. If I'm booking Ty, I want to put him in a fight where he's not going to be at risk of getting finished twice in a row, because I feel like that sort of hurts that Ty aura a little bit. So I'm going to stay away from like a one-shot killer like a Pavlovich. I'm going to go Volkov. I think that Volkov's coming off a win. I think that fight makes sense for both guys.
Omar, any other heavyweight names you'd match up with Tuivasa?
Stylistically, that's a very difficult fight for Tuivasa, I think. Volkov likes to play that outside game, and that technical game might...
He's got to show that he can beat these guys.
I don't agree. I don't disagree with you. It's a tall order. The other name I had kind of on the tip of my tongue, and I know at this point Curtis Blades ain't fighting anybody unless they have a belt around their waist, and I don't know how that strategy is going to work for him, but I'm pretty sure that's his game plan for right now. I would be interested to see Tai Tuivasa versus Tom Aspinall. I don't know currently what Tom Aspinall's time frame is right now with his blown knee.
That was be a while, I would imagine, right?
But how long ago? But how long ago was that now? Like a month, 2 months ago now?
I think he got the surgery maybe like a month ago. Is it not that long that he's out? In my head, I've had him out for like a year. Is that wrong?
I figured he would start training after 6 to 8 months, something like that.
Training, sure.
Tuivasa, first of all, Tuivasa needs
But training
time.
doesn't mean
I
training
agree.
camp.
I want him
Tuivasa
that man
needs
to lay in a hospital bed for a month. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even like that he's out and about.
Yeah. Tuivasa, in my opinion, shouldn't fight for the rest of the year. Like, that's, like, 2022, you're done. Like, you're done, son.
We know that Ciryl Gane has a medical suspension. Does Tuivasa have one for any
God,
kind of?
He
fucking
should.
hope so. Like, I
He
really
should.
hope so.
So that's actually true. So good point, Mike. Ciryl Gane, for those of you who don't know, did break his hand. So he's going to be out, I would say minimum like 3-4 months at least.
Wow.
Just to get that figured out. I'm not sure if he needs surgery or not. From the picture, the x-ray, probably, because that bone is not connected to anything right now. So he might be out for quite a bit, and then there's rehab and all that other shit. So
It's got to be the most badass of workplace injuries. Of like, oh, how'd you break your hand? I broke it on my coworker's face.
yeah,
Quite a
with
coworker.
Tuivasa walking around with that beanbag looking fucking welt on his rib, like if he had just gotten shot by a beanbag round. It's
Dude,
ridiculous.
he looked like he was getting shot.
It was so bad, man. Those body shots. I don't even know how he's walking with all those body shots.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
why. I mean, I kind of like the Tom Aspinall matchup because Aspinall's going to be out until probably next summer, and I wouldn't mind a Tuivasa.
That was my guess, yeah.
After a heavyweight beating like that, it's like, bro, take some time, man. Because we love him and we want him back in his full capacity. I want him to be like the tough New Zealand. Oh no, he's Australian, but still, you know what I mean. Like the what's it called? What's the tattoo that he's got? What the Polynesian? That like Polynesian warrior mentality.
Yeah.
Anyway, what the fuck am I talking about? I don't even know.
I'd be surprised if I was out for that long, but I guess it's possible.
Let's
I
talk
hope
about
they
the
don't let
winner
him
here.
fight for at least the rest of the year. But
Yeah. Let's talk about the winner here, Ciryl Gane. In his post-fight Octagon interview, he mentioned the belt. He only wants the belt. We know that right now. The man with the belt, his name is Francis Ngannou, who already beat him. So he's basically calling for the rematch. But Omar, if you were the matchmaker for the UFC right now, what would you want to do with Ciryl Gane next?
so if I'm Sean Shelby, if I'm creepy little Sean Shelby, I'm probably gonna take Ciryl Gane and be like, listen, I'm gonna have you fight Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades is not gonna like this, but we're gonna do it anyway. And then I'm gonna call Curtis Blades and be like, we're gonna give you Ciryl Gane. And Curtis is gonna be like, no, fuck you. I want Ngannou. And I'm gonna go, listen, I know what you want, but you're gonna get Ciryl Gane. And then whoever wins that fight gets Ngannou.
Man, poor Curtis Blades.
I kind of agree, right? Like Curtis Blades, I feel like keeps getting screwed, but the reality is Ciryl, that performance from Ciryl Gane is so. Like if Ciryl Gane hadn't
had to
just
look it up.
lost,
I had to look it up because you made me think I was wrong, but Curtis Blades asked for Ciryl Gane. As soon as Gane
oh,
won,
he did.
literally called him out.
Amen. It just didn't seem like a Curtis Blades move. Curtis Blades had talked so much shit about not fighting now until he was getting the belt.
It was Gane that actually responded and said he doesn't want Curtis Blades, that he only wants like
Okay. Well,
something that's for the belt or whatever. some
then
shit
you
like
take
that.
my scenario and you flip it. Curtis Blades is the one being like, get him. Ciryl Gane saying, fuck you. So either way, that fight, though, needs to happen. And I think Ciryl Gane is a little crazy if he thinks he's going to get the next title shot after having just lost to Ngannou. He needs to fight the guy that, frankly, should be fighting next for the title, which is Curtis Blades. And I think had Gane had a whack performance, a bullshit performance, something that like was one of his decisions that no one is really talking about, we would have no problem just giving the next title shot to Curtis Blades. But Gane put on a fucking clinic. Gane put on work. It was a fantastic fight, a fantastic performance, a devastating performance, and it does make you want to see Ngannou versus Gane 2, but just maybe not right away. Like, give me Blades first. Let's get that out of the way, and if Blades falters again, that's on him, and then we get the title shot right after.
I mean, it's a great fight, man. Stylistically, size-wise also.
Dude, you can't not make this fight. It has to happen.
Okay, moving on. Mark. Well, not moving on quite yet. Mark, give us weigh in here. Any other names you suggest other than Curtis Blaydes?
Yeah, I mean, there is a very clear top 5 guys who are in this title picture at heavyweight. And only 2 of them are fighting. And it's Ciryl Gane and Curtis Blaydes. So it kind of feels like that's what we have to do. I mean, it's a mess up there. Francis Ngannou is the champ, obviously. He's still hurt. Stipe Miocic is in witness protection somewhere. John Jones, every 2 months, teases that he's fighting, and then he's not fighting. It's who knows what's going to fucking happen? Like, maybe Bones and Stipe still doesn't happen by the time Francis is healthy. And the UFC is just like, all right, fuck it, we're going to do the Francis-Stipe trilogy. And then maybe Ciryl Gane ends up being able to slip into a John Jones fight, which I'm sure he'd rather do than fight Curtis Blaydes. Like, who knows how this is all going to play out? There's obviously ways that it could get weird. But just looking at it straightforwardly, Ciryl Gane needs to fight Curtis Blaydes. As you said, it is the perfect style matchup. It is the one thing, really, that Ciryl Gane has not had to stand across from yet, which is a wrestler. And funny enough, we saw him get handled by Francis Ngannou, who's not even one in that department. So it is a big question that's out there. As good as Ciryl Gane is looking, can he beat a guy like a Curtis Blaydes? So I think it's got to happen. I know both guys may feel like, hey, I just deserve to be fighting for the title or fighting fucking, John Jones in a huge fight. But this is where we're at, and I think they got to fight each other.
I can easily envision a situation with these guys where, because neither one of them wants to fight anybody else other than the champion, that we might have like long, dragged out contract disputes between the UFC and Gane and the UFC and Blaydes, and we might not. I don't know. I almost want to say we might not ever see them fight. We might not see them fight until like next summer. I don't know.
Don't forget, we're dealing with contract disputes with Ngannou at this point too.
That too, right?
That is still ongoing, and I don't think has been resolved.
No, I don't think so either. But here's the thing: if they do fight each other, they know that if they win that fight, they are guaranteed to fight for either the title against the guy people call the heavyweight GOAT in Stipe, or the guy some people call the all-time GOAT in John Jones.
Yeah.
So, like, all you got to do is get one more win, and you're guaranteed to fight one of those 3 enormous fights. So
to be fair,
hard pass on it.
I feel like Curtis Blaydes keep getting told that shit, though. Just one more. Then they give him some motherfucking guy because they want him to lose. Just one more.
I don't know if I agree with that at all.
I think he's great. Curtis Blaydes is so good.
I think he's great. I don't think he's the most charismatic guy. I don't think he does,
I think
he's not going to sell millions of pay-per-views and whatever.
He's coming
else.
out of his shell more and more, but yes, he's not a big personality in the sport.
Since he got knocked out by Derek Lewis, all he has done is beat Rosenstrike and Dawkins, and then Aspinall Blues in the out in 10 seconds. It's not exactly like we're robbing Curtis Blaydes of a title shot.
Well said. Fair point. Let's move on. Anything else you guys want to say about this fight between Tuivasa and Gane?
No, we talked about that for quite a while. Let's move on.
Let's move on. In the co-main event, UFC Fight Night Gane versus Tuivasa. In the middleweight division, Robert the Reaper Whittaker defeated Marvin Vettori by unanimous decision. The scorecards read 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. Omar, let me throw it over to you first this time. What was your impression of Bobby Knuckles looking good against the Italian Dream?
How good is Robert Whittaker? I mean, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Robert Whittaker is just so goddamn good. And we may have talked about this last week when we were previewing the fights, but his ability to close distance and to explode in close distance is absolutely phenomenal. And for him to have the gas tank to do that consistently and with power for 3 rounds is phenomenal. I understand why one judge gave the 29-28. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I did have it 30-27 for Robert Whittaker across the board. It just got worse as the rounds went on, to be honest. It became more and more of a clinic. But we should also give credit to Vettori, because just like Ty, Vettori is a goddamn dog. Most people would have fallen to half of the strikes that he got hit cleanly with by Robert Whittaker. Whittaker hits hard. Looks like he hit hard. He wasn't even putting, his game plan for that fight was not stringing combinations together. It was not to, to throw a ton of strikes or volume. His approach to that fight seemed to be snipe him. Anytime you see an opening, hit him as hard as you can with one shot. And the one shots kept accumulating. He kept finding areas, whether it was his right hand, whether it was his kicks. I mean, he was getting boom, throw here, boom, throw here, boom, throw here, and he was getting them. And it just got worse. And you would think that the longer that went on, Vettori would be able to adjust to it, to be able to read it, to pick up the pattern, from Robert Whittaker. But it did not happen. And again, it got worse. So got to give credit to Robert Whittaker, man. He put on an absolute performance in that fight. It really gets down to the point in that division that it's Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker by a mile in that division. And I don't really know what else makes logical sense but to give Robert Whittaker a title shot sooner rather than later. I understand the arguments against it. I understand how many fights they've had already. But there is a reality that Robert Whittaker is the goddamn best, if not second best in that division. And Israel Adesanya is, they're right there, dude. They're right there. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that the only guy Robert Whittaker is going to lose to at this point is Izzy. Because I don't see him losing to anybody else. He's so good.
Yeah, man. All right, Mark, let's bring you in here. What was your impression of Whittaker's big win against Vettori?
Yeah, so I said last week I did not believe Marvin Vettori was on the same level as Robert Whittaker, especially technically. And that is exactly what we saw. I said Whittaker was going to make him find him in there. He couldn't find him. I said Whittaker was going to land too often, and it's exactly how this thing played out. Robert Whittaker is so damn good, and he legitimately makes guys look bad. Like, they can't believe how much they're being hit. They can't believe how clean they're being hit. They can't believe how little they're hitting Whittaker. Like, he frustrates the hell out of guys. And he said it himself. He said after the fight that he makes people hate fighting, that he takes the love out of it for them. And that's what it looks like. That's what it looked like when he fought Gastelum. It's even what it looked like when he fought Cannonier a bit. And it's crazy because think about those three guys. He is beating these guys, Gastelum, Cannonier, Vettori. He is beating all of them worse and with more ease than Izzy is.
Than Izzy,
but he can't
100%.
It's crazy. But the guy is unbelievable. You got to give him his credit. Omar said this, but he has such a mastery of range. He is so quick at crashing in and closing that distance, and then he is immediately back out. And he changes the rhythm so well, so you can't get used to that timing. Like Omar was saying, Vettori, he would have figured it out, but he couldn't figure it out because it's different rhythms, it's different timings. He keeps you guessing the whole damn fight. There are so many punches that Vettori was throwing that were coming up 1 inch short and 2 inches short. Like, he's a master of that range. And you even see it when you think back on the Izzy fight. Like, who is that close with Izzy, where, like, no one's really hitting each other that clean and whatever? And it's because Whittaker is just as damn good at handling range as Izzy is. And he doesn't get the same credit, but he deserves it. And yes, Omar said this as well. Vettori's tough as hell. We knew this. A lot of men would have been stopped by a good handful of those shots, and he was not. He never quit. He kept trying to bring the fight. He's just not as good as Robert Whittaker.
Amen. Let's stick with Whittaker right now. He's had his title run. He's had his shots at Adesanya. Where does he go from here, Mark? Let's stick with you right here.
I said it last week, and I'm sticking with it. I want to see Whittaker versus Costa. I think that it's the only thing that makes sense right now. There's nowhere else to go with Whittaker. If Izzy wins, he's not going to already fight Izzy again right away. And if Pereira wins, I'm sure, even though you'd love to say, we could do Whittaker-Pereira, I'm sure he's going to get a rematch. So, Whittaker needs a fight in the meantime. He's whipped everyone else. There's one guy sitting there that he has not whipped. It's Paulo Costa. Let's book it.
Let me ask you a question. Do you run back? and this is purely hypothetical. I don't actually even think this is going to happen. People are writing Alex Pereira like I've never seen so many people get on a train so quickly and so blindly. It's crazy to me personally. But anyway,
Really?
my point is, if Alex Pereira completely dominates for 5 rounds Israel Adesanya, not a flash knockout, not as he got caught, purely styles on him for 5 rounds, makes him look like he shouldn't be champion. If that happens, do you give him the immediate rematch?
No. I would not.
All right. Okay.
Really? After this long
In
of a title
any
run?
scenario.
I agree.
that one, I would.
Yeah.
Say it
Yeah,
again.
I agree with that.
In any scenario other than that one, I would.
Yeah. Flash
Like a
knockout.
flash
or-
knockout.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
Close
the only way I
fight.
wouldn't is if he just totally outclasses him and you're like, wow, Alex Pereira is much better than Izzy.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, I guess.
I will say Alex Pereira brings an interesting little wrinkle into this division because it does beg the question, can Alex Pereira hang with the top of this division? Because if he does, fights with Robert Whittaker become super interesting. Fights with Paulo Costa become super interesting, right? So it'll be nice to see if Alex Pereira can really hang with the top of this division. He's done work. I don't rate Sean Strickland that high as far as that's concerned. Sean Strickland had his run. That can't take away that from him. But as far as technique and talent and stuff like that, I think there are guys that just stand above him. And if Pereira can really hang with them, style on them, whatever the case is, it'll make things super interesting in that division that haven't really been that questionable in quite some time.
Yeah, the top of the division is wild because you have these two guys, and it's like, if anyone gets there, like a Pereira, say he beats Izzy, the first thing you're going to say is, well, he hasn't fought Whittaker yet. And if anyone beats Whittaker, the first thing you're going to say is, well, he hasn't beat Izzy. It's like there's almost two kings in this division.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, for those of you who may have played Mortal Kombat back in the day, like Robert Whittaker is Goro, and then Izzy is like Shao Kahn. He's like the last guy that you beat at this point. Wow. But Izzy's the guy with the 4 arms that's just trying
Izzy
to rip
would love
him
that
apart.
comparison.
That's why I said it. Izzy is what's up.
Let's throw out a name real quick for the loser in this contest, Marvin Vettori. Omar, take a look at the middleweight rankings and give us your matchup for the Italian Dream, where he goes off this loss.
Yeah, it's a rough one for Vettori, man, because he's right at the very top of that heap as well, but things are moving so dynamically that it's difficult to pair him up with anybody at this point from the top 5. It's possible that so my initial thought would be maybe you give him somebody like Sean Strickland or Jared Cannonier, but my other inclination is to wait until Izzy Pereira is done.
Really?
If Izzy wins that fight, maybe give Pereira Vettori and see how that works out.
Okay.
So, based on how it is right now, I would say Cannonier or Strickland. Depending on how the fight with Izzy goes, maybe Pereira.
Mark?
Was going to say a very similar thing. I'll add one small wrinkle, which is that I was going to say you could wait for that fight, and if Pereira loses, you can do him in Vettori.
Right.
I know Strickland and Cannonier were booked against each other, and Strickland got hurt. So I don't know if they're just trying to delay that fight and rebook it. If they are, then you maybe leave it alone. If they're not, obviously Vettori could fight Cannonier, and that works just fine. But if neither of those play out, you also have Derek Brunson, who has continued fighting here after teasing retirement. He's fighting Jack Hermanson. Obviously, Vettori has beaten Hermanson already. But if Brunson was to win that fight, Vettori Brunson would probably work as well. So there's a few options. You would think one of them probably falls into place.
Yeah, those.
Yeah, Vettori is probably another one that shouldn't fight for the rest of 2022 anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's move on. Still on the main card, UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Tuivasa. Still in the middleweight division, a very impressive performance by the French native Nassourdine Imavov, defeating Joaquin Buckley by unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, and a 30-27 on the scorecards for Imavov. Omar, let me start with you this time. What was your take on the impressive performance of Imavov?
Yeah, Imavov showed some really good understanding of using his range. Takedowns and the ground game were definitely his friend in that fight. I thought it was really interesting for him to be able to control Buckley the way that he did and be able to manage Buckley the way that he did. I do give Buckley credit, though, for coming out in that third round like somebody who needed to come out in that third round for a finish, because the man tried everything he could. God bless him. He was completely spent by the end of that fight. And credit to Imavov for having to go and walk through literal hell for a third round to walk out of there. I gave Buckley the third round. Imavov already had 2 in the bank. That third round was fantastic. So credit to both guys for what they did in that third round. It really made the fight as far as I'm concerned.
Mark, give us your take.
Yeah, sometimes you pick a fight and then you see the two guys stand next to each other in real life, and you're like, oh, fuck. And that's exactly how I felt as soon as I saw it. I mean, Imavov, I knew he'd be bigger. He was so much bigger. Like, it looked like Buckley was fighting a 205er. But size aside, Imavov also looked really, really good. And Buckley turned it up in the third, like Omar said. And honestly, the way he fought the third is more or less how I thought he could fight a couple of the rounds. Like, I kind of pictured maybe second and third would be like that, where he was able to get inside. But it took him a while to figure out how to score against Imavov. And he just looked stupidly clean for those first 10 minutes, like in all phases. And he managed the range so much better than I thought he could, because he's a guy, I said this last week, he usually strikes on the inside. Like, he likes that tight boxing, dirty boxing. He's not really a range guy, even though he's kind of longer. And damn, he made it work for him in this fight. And he whipped Buckley for the first 10 minutes. So, you know, Buckley's tough as hell. I love that he had those tough 10 minutes and then came out and swung for every second of that third round to try to steal that thing. But Imavov was the story here. I loved his mentality all fight long. He was trying to big brother Buckley the whole time. The first round, he kicks his mouthpiece out, and he won't stay off him when the ref is trying to separate them to put the mouthpiece back in. Like, he was trying to dodge around the ref, and the ref literally had to be like, dude, calm the fuck down. The second round ends, and he has Buckley's back, and Buckley goes to stand up. I don't know if you caught this because the camera kind of cut away. But Buckley goes to stand up, and Imavov is laying down because he had his back. And as Buckley goes to his knees, Imavov curls around and stays on Buckley's back for like 2 more seconds just to like give him that mental fuck of like, even when you thought you're standing up, I'm still on you. Like, he was doing shit like that all fight, and I kind of love to see it. Like, he was a dog in there. So it was definitely an impressive performance from him. I'm guessing he is ranked, the guy, and he kind of was given Buckley here. I'm guessing he'll get a ranked opponent in his next one as he tries to continue to move up here.
Quickly, let's just match up the winner here, if that's okay, guys, just for the sake of time.
Sure.
Looking at those middleweight rankings, as Mark mentioned, Imavov is ranked. Where would you go with him next? Let's go with Mark first.
Do we know what Kelvin Gastelum's deal is right now? Because
Currently,
I feel like we haven't heard his name in a minute.
So I have been a creep on his Instagram as of late, to be honest, and he has been doing some what seems like rehab work, like rehab strength training. I don't know what the fuck he broke now, but he's fixing something. So I don't know what the timeline looks like. I don't know if that's the tail end of the rehab or not, but he's fixing something.
All right. Well, that's where I was going to go. I don't know how long Gastelum is out then. I thought that he was not hurt, but obviously it sounds like he is. But I think that's a great test for Imavov. It's a guy who can go everywhere, similar to Imavov. It's a guy who's a dog. I actually feel like they might have been booked in the past for some reason in my head. I'd have to look that up. But I think that a fight like that would tell us exactly where Imavov stands in this division.
I think you might be right, Mark. I think it was the Imavov one for the one of the UK cards or something, and then it became the Duplessis.
Right, and then Duplessis.
The Hermanson.
Then
was it Hermanson?
I think it was Gastelum, Imavov. Imavov fell out.
Right.
Duplessis took the fight, and then Gastelum fell out.
Right. Okay, it was Duplessis.
I think it was that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah. I mean, the only other guy that I had in my head, just because everybody seems to be doing something, it's possible Strickland and Cannonier will get matched up again because that fight did get scratched completely and hasn't been rebooked. It would probably be a good fight for Cannonier to take, but Cannonier's another picky one when it comes to guys that he fights. So the only other name I had was Andre Muniz. I keep throwing that guy at people, but no one seems to actually take the fight. So
It'd be quite the matchup.
yeah, it'd be a fun fight, I think.
Yeah, stylistically, absolutely. Okay, let's move on now. One last recap before we go into our lightning round. Opening the main card on ESPN Plus UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Tuivasa. A fireworks fight down in the featherweight division, the 45ers, and Nathaniel Wood took home the win against the very exciting Canadian Charles Jourdain, defeating him by unanimous decision 30-27, 30-27, and 29-28. Mark, let me start with you this time. What was your impression of Nathaniel Wood out of England getting it done over Dynamite Hands Charles Jourdain?
Is that his nickname, Dynamite Hands?
No, I just made that up.
Oh, okay.
You sound dumb. Was it bad? Was it a bad nickname?
Yeah, it's not great.
Well, not after that. Not after that last weekend.
Yeah, it's true.
So, yeah, we've known for a while that Nathaniel Wood was good. He's just, he's had plenty of performances where it was like, wow, fucking look at Nathaniel Wood. He's just had this odd career where his wins are not against anyone too great. Then he maybe gets robbed against Casey Kenny just as he's like trying to break through to that bantamweight rankings area. Then he's out for 2 years. He comes back. He moves up to featherweight. He looks great again, but it's Charles Rosa. So it's just a lot of like, yeah, he looks great, but like we don't really know yet. And he's fighting a guy who just beat Shane Burgos, in my opinion. So it's like, as much as I was telling you last week how live I thought Nathaniel Wood was, it was just very hard to pick him here. And man, did he show the talent that he has. Like, he did such a beautiful job of keeping the striking exchanges in tight where he felt more comfortable, which is not easy to do against Jourdain. But as much as he was landing power, he was also just keeping such a patter in Jourdain's face, and the leg kicks were so quick too that Jourdain couldn't find his own rhythm. He couldn't settle in the way he wanted to because there was so much in his face from in close. And the trips were beautiful from Wood. As I said, the low kicks were coming so easy. He's so adept with his feet, and he certainly got hit as well. Jourdain had his moments, but Wood was in the driver's seat that whole fight. It was Jourdain who was kind of trying to turn the tide. Couldn't do it, and Wood looked awesome and gets a really big win for his career.
Omar, what was your take of Wood's win?
There were shades of Aldo and Rob Font in there where you kind of have somebody who's throwing a lot of volume, definitely putting on a fight, definitely putting on a show. But every time Wood threw something at Jourdain, you could see it just stung more. It hurt more. The power differential, I think, was obvious between the two. And as much as Jourdain is a dog, man, like the kid didn't stop fighting, to his credit.
Oh, no.
But as much as he was fighting, Wood was just able to keep pushing him back with less strikes than it took for Jourdain to get any footing at all in the exchanges. And I think as the fight went on, it just wore on Jourdain more than it did Wood. And I thought it was a beautiful performance from Wood. It personally shocked me the way that fight went. I knew it was going to be a competitive, a competitive fight for sure, but I thought Wood kind of cleaned that fight. I really did. I thought it was pretty decisive and pretty well handled. And I just thought it would be a much more difficult decision to figure out by the end of that fight. I thought I was going to have to flip a coin or something, but that was not even close to the case, man. That was a hell of a performance from Wood.
Yeah, at some point I realized that Wood was just too durable for Jourdain to affect throughout the entire fight. And it seems like Wood knew that, and he was unafraid and unintimidated by Jourdain's power.
Yeah.
Mark,
it was like the difference between somebody with two hammers and a sledgehammer.
Okay.
It was a very, very big difference in power from that fight.
For sure. Let's match up the winner here, Nathaniel Wood, featherweight rankings. Mark, give us your pick for Nathaniel Wood's next UFC matchup.
I'm making myself a scrap. Give me Nathaniel Wood and Nate Landwehr.
Oh, baby.
I think those two would go to war for 15 minutes.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Omar, any other names?
I am going to go with Nathaniel Wood versus Daniel Pineda. If you want a scrap, that'll give you a scrap.
That is a scrap as well. I agree.
Absolutely. Love those picks. Any names you guys want to throw out for Charles Jourdain?
So Pineda is actually who I was going to throw out for Jourdain.
Nice.
You want to know something wild about Charles Jourdain? It doesn't feel like this is the case. He has fought 10 times in the UFC. Guess how many wins he has?
How many?
Care to guess?
I'm looking at it, so I can't
2
guess.
wins. 3.
4. He is
No way.
4-5-1.
Yeah, he has a losing percentage, technically.
A dude that just arguably beat Shane Burgos is 4-5-1. It's pretty wild. He's had a little bit of a strange career.
Yeah, I mean, he does feel like
For a
he's
guy
been
as skilled
rising
as he
as
is.
of late. I mean, it goes to show you what kind of bump a guy can get in popularity, in matchmaking, when a guy goes in with energy and can have one sort of career-boosting moment. And, you know, for Jourdain, it was that Sparta kick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was dope.
For a
That
guy
didn't even-
like...
That didn't even do anything. It just was cool.
yeah,
It was
but
a perfect
it was
timing
highlight.
thing,
It wasn't
too.
a finish or anything. Yeah.
It was a
No.
highlight, and it made everybody go, oh, who's that guy?
Right.
Because the one dude was like talking shit in that moment, and it was literally about to be the end of the fight.
Right.
And the guy was like, come on, and Jourdain was like, oh, come on, and he like Sparta kicked his ass right at the very end and threw him on the floor. It was
And
great.
then he goes like screaming into his corner because he's so
man.
fucking hyped up.
And then when you get the eyes on you, he followed it up by subbing Lando Venata. So it was like a perfect back-to-back people being like, wow, Charles Jourdain.
Right, exactly.
I will say I would love to see Charles Jourdain versus Alex Caceres. I think that would be a very interesting fight.
That'd be cool. Okay, let's move on, guys, in the interest of time. Let's throw the rest of these fights into our lightning round. So, if you're joining us for the first time and you don't know, our lightning round is where I challenge Mark and Omar to give me their quickest takes possible for the remainder of these fight recaps. So here we go.
I think I can do
back
it on all of them this time. I'm
I
confident.
love how he says now he challenges us because it really is a challenge.
said
It's
that.
not
That's always
even like
been
a
my
rule.
Intro. Yeah. I no longer mandate it. Now it's just our guidelines. Okay. Heading back up in the main card in the middleweight division once again, Roman Kopylov defeats Alessio I forget how to say his name.
DeCirico.
Say it for me. Tikitiko, that's right. By knockout. 1 minute, 9 seconds of round number 3. Mark, go first.
These boys went out and just took turns throwing hammers. It was probably 1-1 through 2 rounds, and then Roman Kopylov took it out of the judge's hands. Just a filthy combo with power, put DeCirico down, and probably saved his UFC career in the process because he was 0-2 coming in.
Omar, give us your take. Kopylov knocks out Tikitiko.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Keiko. That was a bad one. He took he took a combination similar to that in the first round, where he kind of got punched into the fence. But in this third round, it was worse. He was hurt a lot more, and then for whatever reason, dropped his hands and got lit up like a Christmas tree as a result of it. So I don't know why he dropped his hands. I don't know if that was a body thing, a mental thing, or what, but it cost him literally the fight. So
Okay,
it sucks.
Omar, staying with you now on the featherweight division. William Gomez defeats Aarons by a majority decision, 29-28 on 2 scorecards. Oh, wait, and a 29-29 on 1 scorecard. That's right. What's your take?
Yeah, I thought it was a close fight. I thought it was very back and forth. I had Gomez winning. Gomes?
I think so, yeah.
Gomez. Let's go with that. I had him winning round 1 and 2, and then credit to Aarons for bringing it back in round 3. It was a fight. Definitely a fight. They both scrapped for that win either way, but credit to Gomez for coming out with it.
Mark?
Yeah, I wouldn't say either guy made a huge statement in their debut. I don't think either of them shined hugely, but they scrapped. They both showed some skills. It was a solid fight. I agree. I gave 1 and 2 to Gomes. He had to survive that triangle late, but he managed to get it done and get the W on home soil in his debut, so that was nice.
Okay, moving down now, the featured bout on the prelims on ESPN Plus, UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Tuivasa. The second quickest fight of the night. Abus Magomedov defeated Dustin Stoltzfus by TKO via front kick from hell, followed up by punches. Official time, 19 seconds of the very first round. Mark, what's your take?
It was definitely the fastest of the night. What the fuck was faster?
Saint-Denis, 16 seconds. Oh, no, that was round number 2, my bad.
Yeah. I was going to say. So in the direct opposite of what I just said about the last two guys, that is how you shine in a debut. You can't debut better than that. This is a guy who came in there with credentials. He's got a solid record. He's been around. He's been in the PFL. He's fought names. He came out there, kicked a man's head off, hit him a couple times for good measure, hopped up on the cage to celebrate, and announced himself to the world. And we will see what he does next in the UFC.
Omar.
It's not much I'm really going to add to it. It was 16 seconds, and he got a foot in his face. I will only add that toe went in his mouth, and it's fucking disgusting.
I didn't see that.
That's all I'm going to add.
Oh.
So gross.
All right, down in the lightweight division, Nasrat Haqparast defeats John Makdessi by unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, 21-28. Omar, go first.
Bro, this was just as frustrating of a fight for me to watch as I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
Exactly I'm so annoyed that this was exactly as frustrating of a fight as it turned out to be. But not to mention, both of these men were talking wild shit leading up to this fight. Okay, this apparently they had some real beef leading up into this fight, and then they get in there and they are just measuring each other, barely throwing anything. Arguably, the third round is probably the one round that had some real action to it. But Makdessi looked like he didn't even want to be there. He did nothing in that fight. Haqparast won purely on Makdessi doing nothing. It was annoying. It was an annoying fight, but I knew it was going to be this type of fight, which is why I wasn't super stoked on it last week. But good for Haqparast for getting a win. He needed to win as far as I'm concerned, but I don't know. There's not really much to take away from either guy, to be honest.
Yeah, that played out pretty much how I thought it would. The reach advantage kind of helped Nasrat to land first and to dictate things a bit. And yeah, Omar pretty much nailed it. It's how I thought it would go. It's that Nasrat was able to get ahead and kind of stay ahead and just fight his little safe fight while he knew he was ahead a little bit on the points, and 15 minutes tick away and he gets a W.
Okay. Mark's thing
it's like watching two smart cars racing. It was ridiculous. It was just absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, Mark, sticking with you here in the lightweight division once again. I haven't practiced his names enough. How do you say his names? Fares Ziam?
Fares Ziam, yeah.
Ziam and Michal Figlak?
I think it was Michal.
Michal?
I heard them say Figlak. I don't know.
Okay, Ziam won the fight by UD. Mark, what's your take?
So Figlak was a fighter who was debuting with some hype, and I didn't know this going in, but commentary said it. I forget who said it in round one after he lost round one, that it was probably the first round he ever lost in his career. So it tells you something about the quality of him as a fighter. And Fares Ziam shined in that fight. Like, shined. The dude looked fantastic. He made big improvements, visual, notable improvements everywhere. I mean, he worked behind his length. He was smooth. He was quick with his striking. He showed off the wrestling, which was definitely a new wrinkle for him, and the grappling, the whole package. It was a really nice win for Fares Ziam.
Nice. Omar?
I would have to agree. Ziam was super dominant in that fight as far as I was concerned. I was in the middle of doing shit and picking up my wife with this early-ish card, so I had a lot of it without commentary, and so I did not hear that fact, and I think it frankly gives more to Ziam in his performance of the way he handled that kid, because if he never lost a round, he done lost a few in that fight. He walked out of there with more than just one loss. He lost quite a few. So it just seemed like Ziam was just stronger, physically stronger overall, was able to just move this kid at will I think at one point he was in he got mounted by Figlak, and you think, oh shit, he's mounted. Ziam just throws this kid off. He just literally bucks him the hell off, and at that point you're like, well, Figlak is fucked. Like if he can't do anything from mount, screwed. Absolutely screwed. He's not going to be able to do anything else. And it's pretty much how the fight went. I don't know if this is one of those Figlak, he's a debuter, nerves got to him or whatever, but Ziam put on a performance in that fight. Credit to him.
Okay, still in the lightweight division, Saint-Denis versus Miranda. Saint-Denis gets it done by TKO at 16 seconds of round number 2. Omar, sticking with you, what's your take?
Bruv, I texted Mark right away. I was like, Saint-Denis just murdered somebody. This was... the first round in and of itself was one of those moments when you're like, dude, Saint-Denis is just... it's brutal. Brutal, man. And then the second round comes out like if he wasn't aggressive enough and just tears through this kid in 16 minutes of the first round as if to say, I almost had it in the first round. Let me pick up right where I left off. Yeah. There's not much to take away from there other than Saint-Denis is an absolute animal. And we need to see him against real competition at this point. I need to see him against a big name. I'm super interested to see how far this kid can climb because it's hard to really think that there's a ceiling at this point if he just keeps doing what he's doing because he's doing it exactly the way you want to be.
Mark, what's your take?
Yeah, brutal is a great word for Benoit Saint-Denis. The dude is 10-1. He's finished all 10 wins, and the one is the insane war where he took ungodly damage against Eliseu dos Santos. So, yeah, the dude is brutal, win or lose. But what a night for a guy who didn't even originally plan to be on this card. He had to kind of be like, hey, man, it's in France. We'd love for you to be on the card. And he was like, all right, fine, I'll be on it. And he becomes the first French fighter to ever make the UFC walk on French soil. The crowd is completely insane supporting him. And he goes out there and puts on a performance of a career. So he, I will say he certainly gets hit a lot, which is not ideal. But he, as we said, is a crazy dangerous dude, and he gets a huge moment here.
Mark, sticking with you, in the bantamweight division, Christian Quinones defeats Khalid Taha by TKO. 3 minutes, 15 seconds of round number 1. What's your take?
Yeah, so I didn't even realize this. I would have pointed it out last week, but this is the brother of former UFC fighter Jose Quinones. So that's pretty cool. But he looked great in his debut. His length, his speed, his ability to close the distance. He just looked really sharp. And it was a bit of an odd-looking stoppage just because of how quick Taha seemed to be fine. Like, it was almost immediate. But he hurt Taha bad, and it was a nice finish, in my opinion.
Did you say Jose Quinones got cut from the UFC? Did I miss that?
I didn't think he was.
I thought you said former.
I did say former because I didn't think he was in the UFC anymore.
I didn't realize he got cut. If he did, oh shit. Anyway, brother looks.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
he did get cut. God damn.
Yeah.
Well, brother looks fantastic. I mean, that was some beautiful striking on display. I was okay with the stoppage. I really hate guys that shell up onto one side of like their ribs and then get mad when the fight gets called. When you curl up and like are defending yourself and you go into like this baby pose thing, I understand you're getting the shit beat out of you. We get it. No one's judging you for it, but to the referee, you can't be. You're not defending yourself properly. That is I am done position. Stop doing that shit. Stop it. You're better off giving up your back than doing that nonsense. They've got to stop. And if you're going to do it, don't get mad at the referee that he called the fight. Stop going in a baby pose. It doesn't help. It shows that you're done. Don't be surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I fully agree with that take. I was just saying I get it that it looked weird for Taha to look up and be like, wait a second, I'm fine. But I fully agree with that take.
Yeah. I mean, the referees have got to have, and I would say this as a referee to somebody in the back. If you curl up into this baby shit, I will call the fight. That to me means you are not intelligently defending yourself and you are not going to fight anymore. I will call the fight.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do one more. Women's featherweight division, Stephanie Egger defeats Aileen Perez. Omar, sticking with you. Egger won by submission 4 minutes, 54 seconds of round number 2. Rear naked choke. Take it.
Bro, Egger is a problem, man. Egger is a real problem. The girl's got decent stand-up, but her ground game is really the bread and the butter, and I mean the finest butter you can find in Europe right now. Because, the girl is so fucking good, and I don't know if it's the level. And I don't know if it's the level of competition that she's fighting right now, where she's able to style as much as she is and dominate as much as she has been. Maybe things are different once we get to the top 5 of the division. But as of right now, she went from submission to submission to submission. She wore this girl out, outworked her completely, and finished her by the end of the fight. It was a problem. The biggest takeaway is Edgar is an absolute problem for that division.
Mark, take us
So
home.
my mistake, she is Swiss, not Swedish. Swiss.
Look at that. A fine Swiss cheese right there, bro.
There you go. But this was a Stephanie Egger fight. I mean, she's stronger than you. Her judo is better than yours, and she's going to out-grapple you. And that's pretty much the way that it's gone for her. I know she just had that hiccup in her last fight where she got caught in that armbar by Mayra Bueno Silva, which can't really hate on it. Silva's very slick off her back. I know Egger tried to do this weird, are we sure I tapped thing? I don't know. And I didn't really love that. But that aside, she looks very interesting going forward.
Okay, boys, that does it for this week's Lightning Round. Thank you very much. Okay, let's put a bow on UFC Fight Night Gane versus Tuivasa by finding out who rose and who has fallen in this show's very own rankings system. And by that I mean Mark's very own ranking system, which we affectionately call the Priaulx Rankings. Mark, take it away.
All right, it's a small one this week. We only have 2 risers, and that is it. We had a lot of guys like a Gane or a Whittaker winning with nowhere to go. We had a lot like Imavov beating a Buckley. He's not going to move up off it. He's kind of just holding his spot. So there wasn't a ton of movement, but we got 2. First one is Roman Kopylov. He was all the way down at number 65 in my middleweight rankings. He had started 0-2, but Dekirko's a good win. He jumps all the way to number 39 in my middleweight rankings now. And as I said earlier, probably saves his job. And the other one is Nathaniel Wood. He was down at 42 in my featherweight ranks, and he is now 10 spots higher at number 32. He's
Very
marching
nice.
up, and it kind of feels like he may not be done with that march. And that is it for the brief
That's
Priaulx
it.
rankings this week.
Okay. Now let's shift gears, going from fight talk to small talk? I don't know. Not fight talk? Outside the cage talk by finding out what's new in the headlines of mixed martial arts. This is Inside the MMA Sphere with Omar Artola. Omar, give us the goods.
I need intro music at some point. I think that's the next upgrade here. I'm gonna get me and Mark some intro music for our segments. That's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
man.
All right. We got a few things to go over. First, the biggest story in the MMA world, again, with this damn man. I cannot stop talking about him as much as I'd like to, but we got to give credit where credit is due. Jake Paul is officially fighting Anderson the Spider Silva on October 29th in Phoenix, Arizona. We've talked a lot about Jake Paul here, reluctantly most of the time. This is a real fight. This is a fight I can't hate on. This is a fight that we have said should be the fight. This is a real test as far as I'm concerned. People will bring up Anderson Silva's age, the fact that he's not an actual, that he didn't start his career being a boxer. I don't care. This is not Tyron Woodley. This is not Ben Askren. These are not wrestlers that learn to be fighters. This is a fighter who can fight, who has boxed, who has fought and beaten legitimate credentialed boxers and styled on them, no less. This is not a man who scraped by beating legitimate boxers. Anderson Silva, in the short time he stopped MMA and went into professional boxing, has done work. So this is a real test as far as I'm concerned. And there is legitimate concern for Jake Paul somehow landing an overhand right. My friend wanted to remind me, Marcus, shout out to you, that Anderson Silva likes to play fucking games. He likes to play games in there, and he's liable to get caught with something because we've seen it happen before. It's just a thing. It makes the story interesting. But Anderson Silva is also the spider, and he's very liable to style on Jake and give Jake the first real test inside of that square. So it's interesting. I got to say, it's probably the first real interesting fight that the man has actually booked in quite some time. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I give Jake a lot of credit for taking the fight. He has caught a lot of shit about the matchmaking and those types of things. And I know you said, okay, he's not a boxer necessarily, but this matchup checks every box that he was not checking previously.
I agree.
The size, the knockout power, the height, the reach, the experience in the striking department, the whole everything. And if he could ever beat Anderson Silva, first of all, it would be the end of me watching combat sports, I think. I really don't know how I could go on if that happened. And I agree with what you just said, which is that I really have this, like, concern. So, first off, Anderson Silva should fucking work Jake Paul.
Oh, 100%.
I have this concern in my head of him doing the thing of, like, where he's like, look at Jake, like, look how good Jake is doing. He's in here with me. Like, everyone be happy for Jake. Like, all right, like, let's... And then Jake just fucking knocks him out because he's, like, doing some dumb shit. So I hope Anderson Silva understands that he cannot even risk allowing a world where Jake Paul knocks him out. And that he doesn't do any stupid shit and he just goes in there and fights a fight. Because if he does, there is no way that Jake Paul and his, like, repeated spam counter into overhand rights can do anything to Anderson Silva, and he is going to get picked apart.
If you don't think... You've basically just told a bird, don't fly. Anderson Silva is going to do what Anderson Silva does.
Oh, I don't mind the antics. I just don't want it to be like... You know how he does it with people sometimes, like, where he's, like, encouraging them and shit like that, where he, like, acts like Grandpa Anderson, like... That I don't want. He can do his fucking antics. He can do all his shit, but I just don't want that Anderson.
If he knocks down Jake Paul, you don't want him to go over and help him up?
No. And like kiss his forehead or some shit.
It's okay, man. We here for fight.
Yeah, I think the entire MMA world is wanting Anderson from Anderson versus Chael 2, that no-nonsense Anderson who just goes in there and mows somebody down.
Yep.
But also, guys, while this checks off new boxes, which it does, it still checks off all the same boxes that have pretty much been the criteria for Jake Paul to select an opponent. He's fighting an MMA fighter. He's fighting a retired MMA fighter who is pretty old as far as professional athletics is concerned. How old is Anderson? Is he 40?
43?
Is he 43?
I thought he was older than that.
And how old is Jake Paul? 26?
47.
47.
Fucking hell.
Jesus fucking 47. He's fighting a 47-year-old guy, and he is 27?
But here's the thing, right? You're dealing with a man in 47 years old
know,
who's
it's not
been
just
training
any
since
47-year-old.
he's been a teenager training. Like, and he's in relatively, like, he's pretty fucking amazing shape as far as I'm concerned. Has been training with his sons, has kept, like, this is not a Paddy Pimblett where he, like, ballooned up to 250 and now we've got to start working our way back down. Like, Ben Askren, that happened to Ben Askren. He basically just came off the couch to fight Jake Paul. Tyron Woodley hadn't looked great up until that point anyway, so there wasn't much to expect from him in the first place. Didn't think he would get knocked out, but I'm not gonna do that again. And Anderson Silva, nobody should want to fight Anderson Silva, period, let alone at like 60 years old. Like, the man, I feel like, is still liable to fuck somebody up, even that old. So this isn't one man that I honestly care how old he is. I think Anderson Silva will still light somebody up.
I also just feel like on this Jake Paul journey that we're all on, whether or not we wanted to be on it, he like has to win for this to keep going, right?
Dude,
Mike, if he wins, like, I'm gonna cry. I'll be a grown man with tears coming out of my eyes.
Ruined.
I'm not saying I do. Let me be very clear. I like all of us, will be rooting for Anderson Silva very, very hard. I don't know. Don't you have that feeling in your bones? Like I don't know, something's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I don't have that feeling in my bones. I have the feeling that it is possible that...
Yeah, I'll be nervous as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some nerves. I am not resigned to it will happen. Not even close.
If you make your brain think logically,
it's a thing that has to happen. Okay. A thing that has to come
You're
up.
like, it can't go this way. Right?
If I had to put percentages on it, I'd still be in the 80-20s as far as Jake landing some crazy-ass, ridiculous punch. Mark might even be lower than that. Who knows?
Yeah, I'd be lower.
Anderson is pushing 50 years old, so this could be the fight where he starts to kind of look old.
Oh, dude, you're wild. You're wild.
I hope I'm wrong. I do.
I think you're dead wrong. I think he's looked amazing in his just last few boxing events. I think that this is one of those, like I said, this is one of those guys that doesn't age the same way like everybody else. The man has stayed in shape his entire life. This is a lifestyle for him. He doesn't get out of shape. He's never been out of shape. Even when he's out of shape, he's what? 220, I think, at the most, 215, if that. And he's still in fantastic shape. So I'm not concerned about that portion of it. My real concern is him trying to do his Anderson Silva shit and getting caught with something. Getting Weidman'd again is really where I'm at.
I'll be watching with my popcorn. Let's, for the sake of time, let's move on.
Oh, yeah. Hey, welcome to the Sphere. Real quick, it is the 10-year anniversary of the Jon Jones UFC 151 cancellation. For those of you who don't know the story, that was when Dana White called Greg Jackson the sport killer. What a fantastic moment that was. He was supposed to fight Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson pulled out with an injury short notice. They tried to replace him with Chael Sonnen. Jon Jones said, no way. And they had to cancel the whole event. Pretty infamous stain on the UFC's record, especially with how they handled it. They tried to torch Jon Jones for that entire event and blame him. I forgot about that, dude. That was one of the craziest moments.
Well, now, yeah.
One of the not to mention the craziest part about it is Chael Sonnen still fought Jon Jones next. So they did all that just to end up fighting Chael Sonnen anyway. Yep. But if you've not seen or heard of that controversy, I definitely invite you to go look that up because it's pretty funny and pretty interesting. Next on the list, Alessio Di Chirico has officially retired from MMA post his fight here. He said that it's the right time. I don't know if it's an emotional decision and we'll see him back, but he did officially post this, that he is done with MMA as of right now. So if that is the last fight, we definitely appreciate the fights that he's had. I don't think he's reached the potential he definitely could have, but sometimes that happens in the game.
What a crazy sport. What was it? 2 fights ago that he head kicked, knocked out Joaquin Buckley? Maybe it was more than that. I feel like it was fairly recent. And now he's like, no, I'm done. I'm retiring.
It was last January.
There you go.
Yeah, at one point he was our Italian dream before Vettori came in the picture. Next on the list, Ben Rothwell will actually be making his BKFC debut against Bobo O'Bannon on October 1st. Real name, by the way.
Bobo O'Bannon.
I have no idea.
Oh, all right.
I'll tell you what, though, as far as BKFC is concerned, a man named Bobo, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Bobo.
Last on the weird stories list, Nate Diaz, I believe, had an interview with Brett Okamoto and decided to share that he done almost beat up Dana White once at a club. And apparently everybody was drunk. Dana White was talking some shit to Nate Diaz, which, weird flex, but that's fine. And Nate Diaz was like, what's up, motherfucker? And apparently they got into some sort of back and forth. It never came to blows, but Nate Diaz was ready to slap Dana White in his face. When asked about it, Dana White just said, allegedly. There were some drinks involved, and then he pushed it on to the next question. He didn't want to talk about it. So that leads me to believe that it's true enough that it happened. So
sure.
Wild.
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, it is based on the life of American contemporary.
Shut Alexa up.
What is going on?
I didn't say Alexa, so I'm not really sure. No.
You didn't say what? No, I'm kidding.
All right. Last on the list. Oh, that was last on the list. Let's get into some fight announcements, and we will jump into this weekend's card. Shamil Abdurakhimov is out against his fight with Halton Almeida, like we mentioned or alluded to earlier. So just to remind everybody, Halton Almeida will now be facing Anton Turkalj.
Don't try.
Yeah.
Ouch, yeah.
So that will be going down. It is a catch weight because it is short notice, so they will be fighting at 220 as opposed to the 205 that normally happens at light heavyweight. Diana Belbita is out against her fight with Loma Lukbunmi, and she will now be facing Denise Gomez at UFC Vegas 60 on September 17th. Nick Maximoff is getting another shot in the UFC. I wasn't sure how that was going to work out for him, but he is getting another shot in the UFC versus Jacob Malkoun. That has been added to UFC Vegas 62 on October 15th.
You thought they
Marina
cut the guy off one
Rodriguez.
loss? That'd be fucked up.
Wasn't it 2? It's 2.
No, man, he won 2 in a row before that.
He lost 2 in the UFC. His last 2, didn't he?
Nah.
Damn, was his one loss that bad? I thought it was 2.
Yeah.
Heavenly Father. I didn't realize. All right, my bad then. Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Lemos has been moved from UFC 280 to the November 5th event. Andre Petrosky versus Wellington Turman has been added to UFC 281 on November 12th. That's a good fight. Fernie Garcia versus Brady Highstand has been added to UFC's Fight Night on November 19th. Brady Highstand was one of the pretty decent fighter off of The Ultimate Fighter. I'm really interested to see what evolutions that kid has made because I thought he had promise then. It's been some time since then, so interesting to see how he comes out. Jennifer Maia versus Marina Moroz has been added to November's 19th event. And Dricus Duplessis versus the returning, hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, put a dream catcher over this man's bed or some shit. Darren Till they have verbally agreed for UFC 282 on December 10th. Hopefully that happens. And last but not least, Bruno Silva versus Albert Duraev has been added to UFC's December 17th event. And gentlemen, that is all we have for you.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir, for that update of news and events.
Yes, sir.
And now, folks, let us look ahead to the future. This coming weekend, UFC 279, Chimaev versus Diaz. Going down in Paradise, Nevada, at the T-Mobile Arena, Saturday, September 10th. With the headliners being in the welterweight division, Khamzat Chimaev taking on Nate Diaz. Oh boy. A rare UFC pay-per-view without a single title fight, which is always interesting. But two megastars, no doubt, in Chimaev and Diaz. So, boys, before we start talking about a handful of fights that we've selected to sort of predict and preview, any honorable mentions that you guys want to highlight for our listeners?
We have already brought up Halton Almeida. The man has a lot of hype behind him, and the fact is he's an absolute animal. So definitely watch him. He had I forget, Mark, do you remember who he was supposed to fight?
Yeah, he was supposed to fight Shamil Abdurakhimov up at heavyweight. He went up to heavyweight for his last fight just to take a fight, decided he liked heavyweight, and he was going to fight a pretty big fight against Shamil, but Shamil has since fallen out, and it's going to be a catchweight 220 against a debuting fighter. A guy who's 8-0, but I'm sure he's a massive underdog.
Was the catchweight for Jourdain to come down then?
So, yeah, the guy is normally a light heavyweight, and I think Jourdain was already, maybe he was 230-ish, ready to fight Shamil, and they were like, all right, let's agree on 220, something along those lines.
Wow, okay. So that's definitely one to look out for. But the fight that I'm looking forward to, mainly for one side of the corner than the other, Jake Collier versus Chris Barnett, seems pretty interesting. Barnett is an interesting fighter. He lost his last fight, got kind of weird towards the end of that fight. We don't really need to hash that out again, but will be interesting to see how he bounces back. Will we see the same dynamic striker as we've seen before? Will he play it a little bit different? Has he gotten better at working in and out of the clinch? Because his clinch game is really where he got completely sunned in that last fight. So definitely something to see if we've seen any improvements from him. And the ever elusive women's featherweight division is making a little slight appearance here with Norma Dumont versus Danielle Wolf. One should watch it because you never know when you're going to see a women's featherweight fight. So there's that.
Dumont's good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, she just
There's
lost
just no division.
Yeah, there isn't
the
much
fact
of a
that
division.
Danielle Wolf is 1-0 in MMA.
Exactly.
That is her record.
Yeah.
That's wild
Fighting in the
shit.
UFC. Granted, she has boxing credentials, but still wild to see a 1-0 MMA fighter. But that's women's featherweight for you. I'll mention that Collier Barnett fight as well. But for the other side, I'm actually kind of more interested to see Collier. He seems like after kind of a while in the UFC, some different weight classes, he's finally putting things together. You could argue he beat Andrei Arlovsky in his last fight, which is a guy who is at a much higher level than Chris Barnett is right now. So I'm curious to see if Collier can, despite taking that tough loss, if he can keep this run going that it seems that he's been on. One other that I'll point out is a guy named Johan Lines. He lost his debut, but he is a big-time knockout artist. He almost got the knockout in his debut, and then he kind of gassed. That's sort of his MO. He's back. He's fighting Darian Weeks, and I'll be very interested to see if he can solve that cardio issue and maybe get himself a big finish. And then another one to watch is Hailey Alateng fighting Shad and Helliger. Two guys who maybe are not the biggest names in the world, but they are both all-action fighters, and I think that fight will be a scrap and be in contention for fight of the night, possibly.
All right.
Cool. All right, boys. First fight we're going to talk about is the featured bout on...
Maybe not fight of the night. There's a lot of good fights on the main card. I take that last part back.
In the final fight on the prelims on ESPN and ESPN Plus, going down in the featherweight division, Hakeem Dawodu taking on Julian Erosa. Both standouts of late at 145 pounds. Mark, why don't you give us your take and your pick first?
All right, so Dawodu is the favorite here. He's minus 225. Julian Erosa is plus 180. Erosa is on a hell of a run right now. The guy has won 4 out of 5 in the UFC. 4 out of his last 5, excuse me. And he's a dangerous-ass dude. But I think Dawodu is going to be too tough of a puzzle for him. Dawodu is very elusive. He does a great job defensively. He's hard to hit. He's got a speed advantage over nearly everyone he fights. And I think he'll have it here, too, against Erosa. I think he'll lean on it. And I think he can kind of play his game that he's able to play with most guys where he, I don't want to say dances around, but uses that speed and outpoints them. And because of the way Erosa fights, how a lot of times maybe he'll be losing a fight and he's searching for that finish. He has to fight aggressive like that, and a lot of times he gets it. I also think it's a fight where Dawodu could look for the finish himself and kind of shake this point fighter image that he has. But I'm not going to pick it till I see it, so I will go Hakeem Dawodu, UD.
Nice. Omar?
I have been rooting for Erosa at this point, talking him up, been on the train. I'm going to stay on it. I think Julian Erosa, with his height advantage and his reach advantage, I think there is opportunity for him to keep Dawodu at bay. I think Dawodu would technically be the stronger fighter of the two, but I think Julian can take, like I said, the opportunities to keep him at bay with his long range striking. And I do think if it ends up going to the ground for any opportunistic reason, Julian Erosa is definitely liable to take something from him down there. I'm going to go with Julian Erosa. I do think he needs to finish Dawodu in order to win the fight. So I'm going to go with submission round 3.
Nice. I'm going to go Erosa by TKO in round 2.
Wow.
I think Erosa brings
I
a lot
like
of
it.
fireworks.
Team Erosa, baby. Let's go.
I mean, I also love Dawodu, man. I think he's really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super sold on Dawodu. We don't have to get into it, but
He's very good. He just, like I said, he kind of is. He fights like he's content to go to the cards.
yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah,
That shit is boring. It's like you know what's going to happen in his fights. It's like there's never any anticipation. There's never a moment where like, oh damn, is he going to do it? Like, no, he's not, because he never does. It's just, yeah, it's not great.
It's fair. It's fair. It may come here. Don't be shocked if it comes. The way Erosa fights, he might have to scrap a little bit.
I'm gonna say you better not fucking decide to do it here now when my boy needs to win.
Okay, moving up into the main card in the women's bantamweight division, 135 pounds, seeing Mexico's own Irene Aldana taking on the U.S. opponent Macy Chiasson. Am I saying that right? I always second guess myself for that name.
Chiasson.
She should have been on the Paris card. It sounds so
I
French.
just thought the same thing.
Of course. Chiasson, of course, coming off of a nice win against this card's Norman Dumont as well. Chiasson 8-2 as a professional. The Louisianan 31-year-old. She has 2 knockouts on her record, 2 submission victories on her record. She herself has never been knocked out. Irene Aldana, her opponent, standing across from her, bringing in a very nice little 13-6 record. She herself is 34 years old, from Jalisco, Mexico, with 7 victories coming by way of knockout. She's coming off of a victory against Yana Kunitskaya back in July of 2021. Omar, give us your prediction and your pick first.
I respect Macy Chiasson for the work that she's done, having gone up to featherweight, done the tough thing and all that. I'm still not super sold on her, I think, the way a lot of people are. I am, however, super sold on Irene Aldana's hands, because you could fucking cash those things in a bank. Her hands are straight up gold. She's one of, I feel, one of the few women, especially in that division, that I can almost rely on her to land something nasty and to get somebody wobbled. Not very many women have the power behind their strikes to really inflict that kind of damage. Sometimes we see a lot in the men's divisions. Irene Aldana definitely has the ability to wobble. We've seen her finish. We've seen her finish early with her hands. She's very, very good. Chiasson is very much the lengthy, rangy fighter. Wants to play a lot more of the point game for sure. But Irene Aldana comes from that Mexican boxing, and the way that they deal with that shit, they go in. They go right inside. They work from the inside. They don't allow range to affect them. I would imagine Irene is more than happy to take a few jabs, a few checking jabs there, move her head, work her way inside until she's able to land some good hooks. The kicks and the knees will play a definite issue when it comes to Irene coming on the inside, because Chiasson has the length in her favor. But I think Irene will be able to adjust to it. I think she'll be able to use her hands. And I think we see Macy get pieced up and knocked out. I don't think it happens early, but I do think it happens. And I go Irene knockout, TKO round 2.
Mark?
So Irene's the favorite here. She is -180. Chiasson is +150. Chiasson is tough, and obviously she is the bigger girl. And I guess there's a scenario where she can kind of back Aldana up against the cage and clinch up and get some points in there, dirty boxing inside, and win an ugly fight. But Aldana's actually very good in the clinch defensively. People have struggled to hold her there. She's not easy to control, and she is certainly, as Omar said, the more gifted striker. And I'm going to hope she can lean on that and fight a smart fight, keep that space, get inside when she needs to, and get a win. She'll be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage, but I don't think it will matter, just because I think the level of boxing is very different between the two. She is
100%.
faster. She packs more power. She's the bigger finishing threat, and I think she should be able to win here. I will say I'm torn if I want to go finish, as I was on the last one. I'm going to go decision again on this one. Aldana decision.
It's fair. Chiasson's never been knocked out. I went with the full shot there.
Yeah,
I think Chiasson is talented and very tough, so I don't see her getting finished here, but I agree with Mark. I think Aldana is going to be more competent and more explosive striker in there, and I'm going to go with Aldana by unanimous decision. Okay, let's move on to this fight, which I am very excited for. Going down at a catch weight of 180 pounds.
No way, you
Oh,
said
wait, you missed one. Johnny Walker and the Hulk.
Son of a bitch.
The Cutelaba.
Oh, I skipped that one before.
before
Yeah,
Aldana.
Irene.
She's on. My bad,
I
boy.
thought you just changed the
You're
order.
good.
But
Yeah.
Let's go back and get it. Going down at light heavyweight, Johnny Walker taking on Ion Cutelaba. This is going to be a fun fight. This is a fight that you don't want to miss, not just for what's going down between the bells, but just overall, these two guys are a couple of characters at 205 pounds in the UFC. Mark, give us your take first.
So surprisingly to me, not that I thought Walker would certainly be favored, but I thought it would at least be like nearly even. And
Right.
Cutelaba is minus 205.
Wow.
Walker is
Nah.
plus 170. This is the most coin flippiest fight ever. Like I don't get how you make one guy a 2-1 favorite, but I mean these guys had a fight, right? I mean, boy oh boy, it's two guys who might have 5 minutes of hell in them, and then just completely fall apart. So you had to put them across from each other and see what happens. I guess at the same time, there's the chance we get this tentative Johnny Walker who tries to play like this patient game. So who knows what Johnny Walker we get. It's kind of worked to his detriment lately playing that game. I wish he wouldn't. But I'm tempted to go with the betting underdog here. I mean, Johnny Walker has a 5-inch height and a 7-inch reach advantage. Like, those are big numbers, and he's a big, strong dude. Yes, his chin is not great, and it's very possible that Iwan just goes with his typical blitz and gets inside, and Walker thinks he's all right, and then he's on the ground and the fight's over. That could very certainly happen. But, I mean, there was a time where Johnny Walker had a lot of potential, and if he is going to be relevant at all going forward, he better win this fight. So
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to believe in Johnny Walker one last time. If he loses this one, I will certainly stop. I'm going to say he either fights that patient style he's been fighting and kind of keeps Cutelaba at bay and pulls away as the fight goes on, or that he gets sucked into a firefight and that his reach and power is actually what shines in it. So I will go with Johnny Walker, and I'll go with that latter scenario and say it gets crazy and he knocks Cutelaba out in the first round.
Okay, Omar.
I have zero confidence in Johnny Walker at this point.
I have zero confidence in either of them.
If I had to choose between the two, I'm actually going to choose between Cutelaba. I think Johnny Walker, the one big issue I've seen with Johnny Walker personally is it doesn't seem like he knows what his game is yet. A lot of the fights it seems like he's taken and he's lost have made him like rethink what is working and what isn't working for him, which can sometimes be a great thing, right? Because you can get to fill in your holes, you get to work on things. In other cases, though, it makes you second guess things you probably really are good at that now you may not be as confident in anymore. And I think a lot of times that can fuck up somebody's overall game, and I think it has with Johnny Walker. The fact that the last performance that man had against, what's his name? Against, the performance he had against
Jamal
Thiago
Hill.
Silva, not his last one. The performance he had against Thiago Santos. That fight, the fact that he was as happy as he was at the end of that fight, I don't win or loss, whether he won that fight, that fight was terrible. That fight was absolute dog shit. And he was like super happy that like he didn't gas and like all this. Like, bro, I get you need something, I guess, out of that. But that bar, if you're trying to become UFC champion, that bar is way too low. If those are your expectations, if those are, you know, where you're looking to be happy in that division, because that's not it. And so there are a lot of those little factors that I just don't have the confidence in Johnny Walker to think that he's going to be able to pull anything off. Even when he was in the crazy, you know, when he was acting crazy and he was winning those fights, we said it back then. That style doesn't last. Against guys who are really good and who can time you properly and who are more efficient in their movements and their strikes, in their experience, Johnny Walker is going to get run over every time. and he hasn't been doing very well. He caught Ryan Spann, a couple fights ago, but he's on, he's lost 4 out of his last 5, and he hasn't looked great doing it. Cutelaba, at minimum, comes to fight. Win, lose, or draw, Cutelaba comes to crack. And it's very possible that wakes up Johnny Walker and forces him to get into a scrap. But I just think Cutelaba thinks a lot less, very Hulk-esque, and thinks a lot less when he's in there and goes in to try to wreck somebody. And I think Johnny Walker, if he hasn't gotten his game down, he's going to be thinking in there, and there is going to be lag time between what his brain is doing and what his body is doing, and he's going to get knocked out as a result. I go with Ion Cutelaba, round 1, KO.
I'm going to side with Omar on this one. Look, at one time when Johnny Walker was coming to the UFC, I was like, yo, this is my guy. He's going to be a star, this guy. He's a giant at 205. He's a super athlete. He's exciting. He's got a personality.
Yeah.
And then he ran into Corey Anderson. And he lost again to Krylov. And he came back and he beat Ryan Spann, but I believe he got rocked by Ryan Spann first.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And then he's dropped another 2 since. Most recently getting knocked out bad by Jamal Hill. At this point, Mark, I'm where you are, but 1 fight ahead of you. So I think, these guys, it's a good match right now. At this point in their careers, they have very similar records. They both have a lot of knockouts on their record by wins, meaning. But at this point, given their recent histories, I just see, and just looking at their styles also, I think Cutelaba is a little bit more of a madman. I think Johnny Walker likes to pretend, or not pretend, but he likes to be a silly guy and like a fun guy, but he's not a madman the way that Ion Cutelaba is. And Cutelaba is a bit of a tank and a bit of a bruiser, and I think he's going to clang his fists off of Johnny Walker's head, and I don't trust Johnny Walker's chin at this point. He's got to earn this trust back from this fan. And so I am going to go Cutelaba by knockout, round 2. And with that being said,
I don't even wonder, like, the chin is one thing, right? Because Cutelaba will probably crack some of the best chins in the world and still put them out. But my issue with Johnny Walker is the man doesn't defend properly. Like, he goes in there all reckless and crazy and shit and, like, doesn't take the danger seriously. And
and he does this a lot.
Yeah.
What is that? Who used to do that all the time and got laid out by Gaethje for doing it?
James Vick.
Ese mismo, James Vick. This guy. It's the same James Vick chin in the air. Yeah. Y'all are too elite for this shit. Stop putting your chin in the air. Stop.
Yeah, he's not great, it seems, at using his length. He could use his length better.
7 inches,
let's move
5
on.
inches of height.
Just learn how, I don't know, these guys, I would tie their right hand, their power hand, I would tie it to their forehead. And the only thing you're allowed to do until you can do it properly and often and your body does it without thinking, jab. You're only jabbing now for like the next 2 weeks, bro, until you get it down. Jab your shit off.
Yeah.
Man, people that length should be jabbing until their arm falls off.
Yep, they really should.
Okay, let's get back on track here after my miss of this contest. Going down, a welterweight fight, going down at 180-pound catchweight. Kevin Holland taking on Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. When this fight got made, I was like, ooh.
Same.
Same. Man, this is a fight for the fans right here. So Kevin, the Trailblazer Holland, fighting out of Fort Worth, Texas, 29 years old. Coming in, by the way, he has an impressive 6'3" frame for welterweight since coming down from 185 pounds. Very impressive for 170. Bringing in 23-7 with 1 no contest. Coming in with back-to-back wins over Alex Oliveira and Tim the Dirty Bird Means. He's taking on Texas, taking on California. So Danny Rodriguez from California, 35 years old. Ooh, he's born close to my birthday. 16-2 as a pro. He's only lost twice. 75% overall finish rate with 4 subs, 8 knockouts on his record, bringing in 3 consecutive wins into the octagon this Saturday night, defeating Mike Perry, Preston Parsons, and Kevin Lee. Hasn't fought those since August of 2021. So, guys, this is a fun matchup between the striker Danny Rodriguez and Kevin Holland. Omar, give us your take and your pick first.
I love this fight. I think it's a very, very interesting fight from both sides. I am, however, a Kevin Holland stan. I don't think that's changing anytime soon. As soon as I saw and heard the moniker Big Mouth and the fact that he could beat people up, sold. Absolutely sold. I've loved his come up. I've loved his rise. Met him at the UFC Expo, but obviously for like 60 to 120 seconds, something like that. But super nice guy. I think that Kevin Holland is one of those guys that is so well-rounded, decently well-rounded, right? His striking is not Alex Pereira striking, but it's effective. His wrestling is not DC wrestling, but it has become effective. His grappling, I think, is the thing that his biggest acumen at this point. His jiu-jitsu game, his ability to get subs and get into those advantageous positions. That would probably be out of all the areas, probably the thing he's most adept in or came in the most adept in. But he has leveled up every single one of those areas. Every fight, I feel like he gets better and better. The way his fight IQ seems to work, it seems to really adapt and take the things that work for him and apply it to his game, and applies it well. And he's very, very effective in there. And the way I don't have confidence in Johnny Walker is literally the exact opposite of the amount of confidence I have in Kevin Holland. I have all the confidence in Kevin Holland, and I think he will get this done. I do think this is a bit of a scrap at first. Kevin Holland does his thing, talks a little bit of shit, probably slaps him. But I think we get to a point where there's going to be a bit of a scramble, and I think Kevin Holland will take somebody's neck in an opportunistic moment. I say Kevin Holland by sub. I'm going to go second round. I'll go second round. Give Daniel Rodriguez his first sub loss.
Okay. Mark?
I, too, love this fight. This is a great fight. I'm very happy to see Daniel Rodriguez back. It has been a minute. It's weird that him finally returning is him taking a short notice fight. Like, he's been out for so long, you would think he could have just got an actual fight booked. So that's a little strange that we have to do a catch weight here. But I will take it because it's a great matchup. Rodriguez is the underdog. He's plus 165. Kevin Holland is minus 205, which is a little wider than I expected as well. I'm a bit torn here. D-Rod is really good. He has had a great rise. I also love Kevin Holland. It's hard for me to not take him. Add in the fact that D-Rod's been out for a while. I did finally find out why. I don't remember if someone on this show told me, if I found out elsewhere. But he was out because he broke his hand. Then he had it fixed. Then he broke it again. Then he had it fixed again. Now he's finally ready to fight. So that's not a super encouraging thing. And obviously in the meantime, Kevin Holland has been his active self and looking damn good. So that makes me lean a bit toward him. He has a 7-inch reach advantage. He does have a good grasp of range, even though he's not necessarily that like prototypical use the jab range striker. He does use the range well. He has a good shin. He's not someone who I think D-Rod is just going to catch and drop. I got to go Kevin Holland here. He's looked really good as a welterweight. I know this is up at 180, but he's fighting a fellow welterweight. D-Rod has had, as much as he's had good performances, he's had guys have kind of hung with him, even if he's winning the rounds. He had that loss to Nicholas Dalby. Kevin Holland has shown me much more than D-Rod has shown me. And though I do think it could be close for a while, and I also think I could be wrong. Like maybe Rodriguez has gotten even better. He's a good fighter. I'm not trying to say he's not.
Sure.
I think it could be close for a while. I think Holland is just a bit too dynamic, a bit too clever in there. I think he kind of clips Rodriguez with something, not something that like drops him on his face, but something that creates kind of like a a little bit of a stumbly scramble situation, and he grabs something, probably a neck, and gets a club and sub-esque type of win. I will say late in the fight, I'll say round 3.
That's where I was torn, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It should be noted really quick that we all here have rooted and will probably continue to root for Daniel Rodriguez. We love Daniel Rodriguez here. This is just one of those fights where we have to figure out who we love just a bit more. Is it child number 1 or child number 2? That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I'm a D-Rod fan.
If I'm betting
sure.
it, I'm betting Holland too. I'm not just picking the guy I like here.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm a D-Rod fan for sure.
Yeah.
He seems to have a great knack for fighting, a great knack for striking as well.
He does.
He's only lost twice. He's got 16 victories as a pro. But I agree with you guys, and we are going to be unanimous in our picks here. I agree with the take. I think Mark said it, that Holland's going to be a little more dynamic, and I think we're all going to take him by sub. I think he has a few more ways to win. If they wind up in a scramble, I think Kevin Holland is going to be slick. He's also not a dummy. He's not going to be in a firefight for being in a firefight sake with a guy who's a very talented striker in Daniel Rodriguez. Right. And if he sees an opportunity, Kevin Holland's going to take it. So I'm going to go with Kevin Holland by submission via scrambling into probably a triangle or a rear naked choke or something like that, or maybe a guillotine. And I'll say he gets him out of there in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder how much the shit talking is going to come into play, and I wonder how much of it is going to affect D-Rod, because D-Rod is from the street. Like,
I was going to say that point too, actually.
D-Rod fights like that. So I don't know if it's one of those things where, that's maybe an environment he thrives in, or
he might love that.
Or it might be because he's from the streets that the ego thing might come into play. Like, yo, you're not going to disrespect me in the middle of this fucking arena here. And he just, goes full Cerrone Nate Diaz and just gets picked apart. It's very, I'm so interested to see how Kevin Holland's mouth works. That's not going to come out right. I'm really interested to see how Kevin Holland's shit talking is going to work in this fight.
I don't think of it as shit talking. He just talks.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
it's
that.
It's like a mind.
We're having fun talking to each other.
Yeah. No, I guess you're right. I got the mind games in general. Then the talking, it presents a different aspect to a fight that not a lot of them have, and he's good at it, and it doesn't really seem to affect him negatively. I mean, he had a whole conversation with Jacare before he knocked him the fuck out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, shit talking. He gets popped with a jab. He'll be like, "Nice jab."
Yeah,
you're absolutely right, because he told Jacare, "Why you hitting me so hard, man?
Why you
hitting me so hard?"
It's like, oh my god.
God, I love Kevin Holland.
I'll just say I meant to say this when I was talking. Daniel Rodriguez has looked very good against a lot of guys who don't have a ton of other options but to box with him, like Gabe Green and Mike Perry, and even Kevin Lee, who had him taken down early but then couldn't do it again. He had to stand there and box. Kevin Holland's not that guy. Kevin Holland can change a fight in a lot of ways, even in ways that don't make sense, that are like crazy ways. But if he needs to change a fight, he'll change a fight. So that's kind of part of the reason I can't just see Rodriguez doing his typical outbox you thing to Kevin Holland.
Also, Kevin Holland doesn't break mentally. I've never seen that kid give up at any point of any round, whether he's losing it, winning it. He's in it 100%. He knows that he's fucked up, so he's going right back in. Like if he's, like if that round never happened, we're just going in there to win. It's hard to pick against him, man. It really is.
I gotta say, it's a great tragedy in the sport that Kevin Holland was at 185 and moved down to 170, and Sean Strickland was at welterweight and moved up to middleweight, and these two have just crossed paths. It would be such an entertaining fight for the fans.
We would need a special and specific microphone to be in that ring for that fight.
Yep.
I want to hear all of that. Turn the commentators off. I don't want to hear them for that fucking fight. Turn the commentators off and just give me the mic right in the middle of that ring.
Okay, it's we're good. It's getting late, and I'm
This was not the main event.
Feeling like shit, so let's march on. Please take mercy on my soul, gentlemen. Co-main event, fun one for the fans once again in the welterweight division. Jingliang taking on Tony Ferguson, fighting at welterweight. Is this his first full reign at 170 pounds ever?
It's back.
Probably not.
He did tough at welterweight, if I'm not mistaken, and then did one or two fights afterwards at welterweight, and then went down to lightweight after that.
Yeah, and Tony Ferguson, of course, he doesn't really need an introduction for anybody who's listening to this, but Tony became a beast at lightweight. Things haven't been going his way lately. Of course, he had that really, really tough loss against Gaethje, which really kind of set this whole thing in motion for him since 2020. Then he got brutalized by Oliveira, who went on to become champ. Then he got beat by Dariush. And then he got front kicked into the front row by Michael Chandler. So he's looking to get back in the win column. Changing weight classes, when guys do this, they're usually doing that to try to breathe a little bit of life, a little bit of fresh air into their career. And then, of course, Jingliang coming off a very nice win by TKO against Muslim Salikov. Omar, give us your take and your pick first.
Out of 7 fights that Tony Ferguson has lost, 4 of them are the most recent losses. His last 4 fights are the most recent losses.
Yeah,
that is
he was on
painful.
Quite a tear.
Painful.
Yeah.
Be honest, kind of hard to figure out exactly how this fight is going to play out. We know Tony Ferguson, or I should say, we like to think we know Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's recent performances have just not really been it. Some have argued that this is the Tony Ferguson we've just all been, maybe not understanding how not good Tony Ferguson actually is. I'm not of that mind. I think Tony Ferguson's unorthodox movements and his fight IQ is actually pretty damn good. It's very possible Father Time is just screwing with him at this point. Who knows? Either way, Jingliang is, I would say, definitely a test in the welterweight division. The one thing I really love about this fight is that Jingliang is taking it 100% seriously. I think he knows what he has in front of him. I think he knows that it's still a test regardless that the man is coming up in weight. And I think this is a lot more of a competitive fight than people may be giving credit for in either direction. Tony Ferguson's definitely got some weird shit when it comes to the striking. Jingliang will definitely crack Tony Ferguson in the face. That is 100%. I think where this fight might get a little interesting is if it goes to the ground. One of the things Tony Ferguson is known for is just relentless elbows, cutting people open, even when he's in ground position from the bottom. Jingliang, has a ground game for sure, but have we seen him use it in the most effective way? Arguments could be made, maybe not so much. There's real interest in how this fight can go in either direction. The reality is we haven't seen Tony Ferguson at 170 in a long time. So I don't really know what to make of it. I don't know if this is going to work out better or worse for him. The reality is I haven't had a lot of confidence in Tony Ferguson as of late. I still think the man is very, very good. But I think once we start talking about the top tier here, he just may not be it anymore. I think Jingliang is working into his prime. He's been doing very well. He's had that loss at Chimaev, but other than that little wrinkle, I think he's been doing quite fantastic. So I'm going to go with Jingliang. I'm going to give Tony Ferguson the respect he deserves, and I'm going to give him. I'm going to go with unanimous decision for Jingliang. But once that bell is rocked, it's very difficult to unrock it. So it's very possible his chin just isn't the same after that kick.
Okay, Mark.
All right, we got Jingliang at -310. Tony Ferguson plus 250. So if you're feeling confident in Tony,
shit,
it's a pretty good number. I don't know what to do with this fight, man. I'm not someone who writes off Tony either. He looked really good in round 1 against Michael Chandler, which a lot of people are just seeming to forget. I don't know how you can pick him here. He's going up a weight class, but it's not like he has built up his frame or anything. Like, he just fought Chandler not that long ago, and he's kind of just taken this fight so he doesn't have to cut. It's not like we're going to see some bigger, stronger version of Tony Ferguson. it's not like it's a downgrade in opponent. Like if it was, okay, I'm going to go up to welterweight and I'm going to fight someone who's a little lower, maybe that makes more sense. Like Li Jingliang is super dangerous. Like the Leech is no joke.
Yeah.
He's bigger than Tony. He's stronger than Tony. He's not longer. Tony does have the reach because Tony just has that crazy reach that he's always had. I think he has a 4-inch reach advantage over Jingliang. But Jingliang's the bigger, stronger guy, and he hits hard as hell.
Yep.
Tony's chin is not the same as it once was. Would I love to see Tony grapple, and would that change this fight for me? Yeah. I do think there's an avenue where he could really look to grapple and possibly change this fight and make himself really live. But I don't think the story of this fight ends up being terribly dissimilar from that Chandler fight. I think maybe Tony comes out looking good, doing a couple things. Maybe there is a takedown at one point. Maybe lands some nice elbow or something, gets us excited, has a moment or two. But I just think as the exchanges continue, that Lee's power is too big, and he is good at finding his shots, and I don't trust Tony to stay standing at this point in his career. With the power of Li Jingliang, 170-pounder, strong guy coming at him. So I'm going to go with the Leech, unfortunately, by round 2 TKO.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. As much as I don't want to abandon Tony, but, I am. And I think, sometimes guys can go up in weight, and it's like, oh, because he doesn't have to cut, he's more durable. But then sometimes, he might get blown away by a guy who's, like Mark said, bigger and stronger. He's coming off of a fight against a guy who's like 5'6" in Michael Chandler. And Li Jingliang is a legit 6-foot, bigger framed guy. And even though they're not that far apart in age, it's not like Jingliang is like 26 years old.
Yeah.
I believe Jingliang is 35 or 34. But yeah, it seems like Jingliang has been looked good as of late, other than that one blip against Chimaev, and Chimaev seems to have done that against most of the guys when he came into the league. That being said, I think Jingliang can really crack, and he's going to find Tony's chin, and I don't think Tony's unorthodox movement is as effective as it once was. So I'm going to say he gets him out of there. He's going to be durable throughout most of the fight. I'm going to say he gets him out of there in the third round by TKO. And I think we might see Tony, I don't know.
That was my next question.
In a row, 5 losses in a row. Could we see him be like, you know what? I'm out. This is it. I should just,
I don't think his brain works.
Losing
that way,
sucks.
dude. After
You don't think
every
so?
loss, he has like something where he's just like, well, yeah, I realized it's because I trained when it was windy. So if I stop training when it's windy, like then everything's gonna be fine. Like every time he has something like that, like it's like in his own head, he just always thinks like next fight I'm gonna be the champion of the world. Like I don't know, which is a good thing in a way, but
Yeah.
Tony, are you ready to retire? Are you ready to retire, Tony? You guys need to do your research.
Yeah.
I was kicking pipes the other day. All right? That's why I lost. I kicked the pipe. I hurt my leg. I couldn't move. I was here, though. Ain't nobody bitch. Had a baseball. I tried to ankle pick him. It didn't work. Do your research.
Okay. All right, boys. Let's move on to the main event of the evening of UFC 279. Here we go. Going down in the welterweight division, Khamzat Chimaev is taking on Nate Diaz in what is Nate Diaz's, I believe, final fight on his UFC contract. And they're matching him up with the phenom of Khamzat Chimaev. Mark, give us the odds of this crazy matchup.
Yeah.
And then give us your prediction and your pick.
Wait, I kind of want to guess this one before he does it, because there's no way this is a normal line. This line has got to be fucking stupid. Let's see. I would even argue, let's see, Chimaev minus 1,000 maybe?
Yeah, is it like disrespectful? Is it 1,000?
It's got to be. It's got to be. It's got to be
like
Chimaev
800?
minus 1,000, Nate Diaz plus 950.
Plus 800?
So Nate, you're only getting plus 700. I guess they don't want to give you too crazy odds on Nate, but
All right.
Chimaev is minus 1,100.
I wasn't that far off, baby. I wasn't that far off.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at this whole betting thing.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, so minus 1,100 for Chimaev, plus 700 for Nate. Chimaev is so much bigger than Nate Diaz, which I feel like no one is talking about. Like, everyone's talking about the talent of Chimaev and how the styles match up and how can Nate win. I just keep thinking about the size. Like, Chimaev is a man who easily fits in as a 185er. And he's fighting a guy whose prime occurred at 155, who was weak even then. Like, Nate Diaz, as great as he is, has never been strong, like, compared to other guys he was fighting. He's one of the weaker guys in his weight class. And Chimaev is a fucking animal. So the size and strength here is going to be a huge disparity to me. And I'm thinking back to the fight where Rory McDonald tossed Nate Diaz around the cage. And I think this may look similar. I think Nate's going to get dropped on his head. I actually think Chimaev probably intends to pick him up and carry him across the cage and repeat what he did with the leech, if he can, and create a little viral moment for himself of carrying Nate Diaz across the cage while he talks to Dana White again. I actually think that's on his mind, if I had to guess, because of how easy it may be. Yeah. I mean, it's, we know what this is. It's an impossible matchup for Nate Diaz, unfortunately. You'd love to see him in a different fight. Nate is still great. I'm someone who still rates Nate Diaz. I get shit for it sometimes. The guy's great, man. He hangs with everyone. Like, look, Leon Edwards is the fucking welterweight champion. He almost finished him in the 5th round. Like, Nate is a guy you got to give respect to, but it's an impossible matchup. Chimaev, the only thing he has to be careful of in this fight is that I'm sure he's going to hurt Nate, and he's going to have dominant positions on Nate. But Nate is very, very hard to truly put out. And Khamzat has to make sure he doesn't go too hard trying to do that and blow his wad, because the only way that Nate can somehow win this fight is if Chimaev manages to gas himself out. So that's the only thing I think he's got to think about. I can't see him losing it any other way. If he chooses to stand and strike with Nate, I guess it could go badly, but then all he has to do is take him down. If it ever started to go badly, just shoot a double. And yeah, Nate's jiu-jitsu is nasty, but Chimaev is just so damn strong. I don't know what Nate could pull off from his back if Chimaev's on top of him. So I think we're going to be on the ground. I think Chimaev is going to be controlling. I think he's too damn strong. I think he is just going to pour it on at one point or another and not necessarily put Nate out, but I think it's just going to be like a barrage, and Nate's probably going to be mad when the ref stops it, but the ref's going to stop it. Yeah. And I'll say that happens in round 2. So give me Khamzat Chimaev, pretty dominant, round 2 TKO.
Similar to Ricky Gervais's 5th and final Golden Globes hosting job, where he gave that sort of legendary screed against Hollywood actors. This is going to be like that out of Nate Diaz. You're going to not know what's going to happen in the next, from moment to moment. You're going to be like, what the fuck is going on? What is happening? There's going to be the most middle fingers you've ever seen. It's going to be like his fight against Leon, but to an even greater degree, I think. There's going to be like waving him off. There's going to be like walking away of like confusion of like, is he like forfeiting, and then he's back in it.
Dude, Chimaev is not a guy who's going to let you do the walk away thing, I don't think. Like, you walk away, I think he's just going to chase you.
Yeah, probably. Could be. I know. It's going to be like, don't blink for this fight. Don't blink.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, fuck this.
I'm concerned, though, about his attitude. Not so much about the fuck this UFC thing, but he has been on this fuck this fight thing where he's basically told people, like, I don't even care. I'm not even training. Like, go ahead and beat me. Like, do what you want. I just want out of here. He's even talked about, like, if the UFC signs his 10 boys, that, like, he'll re-sign with the UFC. there is a lot of weird shit going on right now with Nate Diaz, and none of it seems to be Nate Diaz wanting to win this fight. And so it makes it difficult for me to root for, or not even root for Nate Diaz, but at least think Nate Diaz is going to win when not even Nate Diaz thinks he's going to win. So I'm going to go with Chimaev. I'll be rooting for Nate Diaz, but I think Chimaev is probably going to fuck this guy up pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a question of, how much does Chimaev turn on the burners here, and does he go for a finish towards the middle or end of the first round, or does he kind of let him off the hook just to try to draw out the entertainment quality of the whole event?
I think the entertainment quality is actually going to be for him, not for the fans. There is something really disturbing about Chimaev and the glee that he takes from putting pain on people. I think he's going to just want to beat on Nate Diaz. One, because they've been kind of jawing at each other a little bit, right? Talking about how I didn't want to fight him and, fuck this guy. He's not a real gangster, this, that, and the other. And Chimaev fully understands what's going on. Yeah. I'm the Chechen gangster. He's the, U.S. gangster. And we're about to throw down and see who the most gangster person is. You want to think you're a real gangster? Let's find out. So I think there's going to be talking inside of the cage. There might be a little of that Khabib Conor-esque kind of vibe for a little bit once we actually finally get in there. I'm personally interested to see what the stare down looks like, because I've realized now I don't think they've squared off at all at this point.
It will soon.
I don't think they get near each other. I think it's a 3 feet away stare down. Not by their choice, by the UFC.
Right. But is this a Khamzat starts talking shit and then Nate Diaz kind of gives it back, or does Nate Diaz start talking and then the mentality is really interesting, because Nate Diaz has always been the guy to bring that aggression, bring that fuck you attitude, and it just seems like Nate Diaz is like, I don't even want to fucking be here, dog. Like, I don't want to be here.
I think they're both too willing to throw hands at the weigh-in, that the UFC is just going to be like, you stand here, take a picture.
You also got to bear in mind that Chimaev, he's on his own hype train, and he's like, I'm not going to let this guy, I don't care if he's a star, I'm not going to let him mess up my hype train at all. Yeah. And, Nate Diaz, he's also starting his own fight promotion. By the way, Nate Diaz,
that's right.
Hit me up, buddy.
That's right.
I'll just, for shits and giggles, I'll say Chimaev gets the TKO at the end of round 1.
If Nate Diaz finds a way to win this fight, it will be some of the most legendary shit I've ever seen. I will personally get on a plane and carry Nate Diaz on my shoulders from Las Vegas back to Stockton.
Yeah. I mean, if Nate Diaz beats Chimaev, he 100% has to scream out, fuck the UFC. On the microphone afterwards. I feel like that's
he's the king of the world. If he said, I want to fight Francis Ngannou, I'd be like, all right, sure.
If a genie popped up in front of you right now and said, Nate Diaz will beat Chimaev, but if that happens, that means that Jake Paul is going to beat Anderson Silva, would you say?
Oh, sorry, Nate Diaz. No. Nate Diaz has to go.
Way
sorry.
More to me than Nate Diaz.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no way. Goodbye.
No.
All right, boys, we did it. That does it for UFC 279. Chimaev versus Diaz. It's going to be a fun
ruining
one.
Reality. Jesus
No
Christ.
title fight in this pay-per-view, but it is a fun pay-per-view with some nice matchups for sure.
Yeah.
Chimaev, Diaz, Jingliang, welcoming Tony Ferguson back to the welterweight division. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. The fun show that's going to be Johnny Walker versus Cutelaba. It's a fun one.
It is.
We can see Jourdain and Almeida come back. Yeah, it is, for sure. For sure. All right. Let's end with the one little trivia question because Daddy's got to go to bed and continue to heal from this flu-like fucking thing that I had the past couple days. Here we go. It is Nate Diaz fight week, so we're getting a Nate Diaz trivia question.
Oh, boy.
Are you surprised? Probably not. Nate Diaz landed the third most significant strikes in a UFC contest against which lightweight opponent?
Was it A, Donald Cerrone, B, Michael Johnson, C, Gray Maynard, or D, Jim Miller? I picked 4 fights. Well, the correct answer plus 3 others. I picked 4 fights, all in which Nate looked amazing and beat the brakes off these guys.
For me, it's between Cerrone and Gray Maynard. And I think it's Cerrone. He fucking pieced up Cerrone in that fight. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, but how early didn't he finish Cerrone? How early in the fight did that happen? Was it too
No,
early?
he spent the entire fight doing that to Cerrone. I don't think he
didn't
finished
finish
him. I don't think so.
I thought he did. That's
I'm
where
pretty sure that
going.
went.
I can't not pick the Cerrone fight because it's so.
'Cause I remember Cerrone just walking forward and just eating and eating and eating for 3 rounds. I don't think he ever went
He
out.
finishes him, dude. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I don't want to check.
Wow.
I don't want to check
Nick's
now.
gonna tell us, but that's I'm going Cerrone.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to. Gray Maynard is my number 2, but Donald Cerrone is my number 1 now.
Let's see. Cerrone, he beat by unanimous decision.
Wow, I'm wrong. Jeez.
Gray Maynard, he TKO'd.
He
in
TKO'd
round
Gray Maynard.
Yeah, I
1.
knew that. I knew that.
He
Bro, that was. Oh, was that only round 1?
I can't believe my brain thinks he finished
Oh, my.
Cowboy. That's how bad that fucking drubbing
No,
was
that-
that I forgot Cowboy even saw the bell. Christ.
Yeah, dude. It was. Cowboy's face was obliterated by the end of that fight. It was bad.
Yeah.
he subbed Jim Miller in round 2, and Mark and I were there for that fight.
I remember that. That was the one where Jim tried to take him down, and Nate ended up catching a triangle, if I remember that right.
Like that.
Yeah, I remember
Mike,
that fight.
I'm so glad you
Michael
said that.
Johnson.
I knew I went to an event at the Izod, and I never could remember what fucking event it was. And now I
It
know.
was you, me, and Rob.
Now I know. Wow. I'm going to look at this whole card right now. Oh, dude, yeah, wow. Yeah, I remember.
Oh, guillotine, not a triangle.
I
who
literally
was
could
the
not
other one?
remember.
Different one, then.
Michael Johnson. What did he
That's
do
the
to
card where Michael Johnson beat Tony. Yes, yes.
Michael Johnson. He decision Michael Johnson. I'm surprised you guys didn't pick that fight. Because the answer is Donald Cerrone.
I
Oh, it
don't
is.
remember him. It is Donald Cerrone.
We got
The
it.
answer is
Omar.
Donald Cerrone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
fight
I
is
don't remember
so-
any beating as bad as Donald Cerrone.
That's what it was so bad. I thought he got finished in my memory.
Yeah,
Because I just remember watching that. Like, I cannot believe the ass whipping that I'm watching right now.
the dude didn't even Donald Cerrone didn't even fight back. It wasn't even really a fight. He just stood there and just ate shit for 3 rounds. It was crazy.
238
really wild.
significant strikes landed in that fight.
Yeah, and they were all to the head too. They
Yeah.
they were all headhunters. What a wild fight.
Well, folks, thanks for tuning in this week. Enjoy the fights this weekend, this fun pay-per-view, UFC 279. And once again, subscribe, do all the things. If you liked any of our takes, comment below. If you didn't like any of our takes, comment below. We always appreciate that thoughtful discussion. With that
Yeah.
being
Also,
said,
if you're gonna throw a dislike on there, throw us a comment. Give us some feedback. Let me know what for. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
Well, did we get one?
My goddamn video got 3 dislikes.
no,
It
wow.
hurt my heart.
Wait, which one?
The Muay Thai one.
Probably because
Maybe those-
and you opened it up talking about MMA, and they were like,
maybe they disliked because they didn't like how I talked about MMA right off the jump. Listen, it happens. You gotta hit me with a comment though. You gotta let me know what's going on.
I got a hater. I already got a hater in the comments. Somebody called me a fucking casual or some shit like that.
Mike was trying to be respectful, and he got called a casual for it.
Guys. I haven't caught any hate yet. Doing something right.
All right. We'll see.
Tommy
you guys
calls
next
you
week.
out every other week for being so shiny.
He does.
All right, boys. Let's get out of here.
All right.
All right, boys.
Adios, people.
Talk soon.
Peace.
Peace.